Good morning, everyone, to all of you, and welcome to Helsinki. We have a bit of an imbalance in this room. I'm wondering what's going on. It's very empty over on this side and very full on this side. Let's hear some energy. Good morning, everyone. My name is Karen Helmstead, and on the behalf of the European Institute for Innovation and Technology, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to this third leg of the INNOVEIT 2024 conference series, and a warm welcome to all of our streaming public out there in the big wide cyberspace. I know that a lot of people are probably taking advantage of the fact that this is online. But to all of you who are here in the room, we're glad to see such a full room. Welcome, 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 and thanks for taking the time to be here with us for this day that's dedicated to pioneering women driving innovation and investment in Europe. Imagine that, a full day to celebrate, empower, and inspire the incredible women who are shaping Europe's innovation landscape. And what a relief that is with the recent state of the news. And what better place to do it than beautiful Helsinki, which is, of course, world famous for its incredibly dynamic startup scene. One reason for that, of course, is Slush. So hands up, all of you who will be attending Slush over the next couple of days. Exactly. Actually, the majority of the room. Billed as the largest gathering of VC on the planet. So well done. Well done. It's happening tomorrow and Thursday, and it is very exciting that we can be here on this day zero and really capitalize on, benefit from such an innovation and founder-focused environment. Just for your information, in 2022, Finnish startups actually secured a record 1.8 billion in funding. So that's obviously a clear sign that they're doing a lot of things right. And the $64 question for us here today, anybody guess what it is? How much of that funding actually went to all female-led startups? And how many of the investors involved were actually women? These are questions that you've probably had to ask many, many times, many of you in the room. And this is where we get to the numbers, of course. I heard someone mentioning the number 2%. Because of all of available VC funding out there, only 2% goes to all women teams. If you go up to mixed teams, I think the number improves to something like 5. But that's obviously a serious imbalance in terms of the distribution. And those numbers, interestingly enough, are relatively similar whether you are here in Europe or over in the US. So that comparison was also disappointing because it's the same everywhere. On the investor side, less than 12% of investors are actually women. So this means that despite a lot of the progress that we've been seeing in boardrooms, that we've seen because of quotas, we still have a long way to go to get to gender parity. The EIT Community, which has brought you here together today, is addressing this, and I can refer you to their gender diversity fact sheet where the numbers are somewhat better, and they're doing obviously very important work by trying to bring this forward. Especially, I think you'll all agree with me, in a global political environment where many, many factions are seemingly intent and still seeking to keep women on the sidelines. So let's take a moment right now and thank all the men in the room. Put your hands together and give them a hand. Because, you know, let's face it, they're the ones who are listening. They're the ones who are allies on this quest. They're the ones who are paying attention to the empirical evidence out there, and there's tons of it. We're going to be talking about it later today. Gender diverse teams generate better financial results. More innovation, more sustainable startup success. And the same is true for investors. One of the reports that we'll hear about today is the third annual European Women in VC report. And it shows very clearly that gender diversity improves financial performance. So what's going on? Seems like it should be a bit of a no-brainer. So we need to ask a lot of tough questions to change this imbalance, but we also are here today to celebrate the many success stories, and to give all of you a chance to be inspired as you head into the next 2 days and build your networks and already have a leg up for tomorrow. So on that note, just a few words about today. You will have seen on your badges that the agenda is printed there. We have a number of keynotes and panels here this morning. After our lunch break, it's actually already afternoon, so good afternoon. I'm still working on morning time. We have a pitching session from the EIT Community supported startups, which will be very exciting after the lunch break, and the introduction to the EIT supernovas. A major focus point for today is networking. We'll be talking a lot about that, so please take full advantage of the breaks and be sure to stick around at the end at 16:30 for that final networking hour. We are delighted to have a graphic recorder with us here today. Give a hand to Peggy Norbesrath, who's over there on the side of the room. She came to be with us all the way from Frankfurt. And you can find her on Instagram. Feel free to photograph what she'll be producing over the day. And she'll be following all of our proceedings with some graphic reflections, and we very much look forward to that. We will use menti.com for a couple of the sessions, possibly a couple of interactive questions, so just keep your phones on standby for the QR code. I don't need to tell a digital audience like this anything about that. And do please tag EIT Community and INNOVEIT if you are posting on social media, and we hope to see lots of conversations there. And with that, let's get started with a couple of words about the EIT for those of you who don't know much about the EIT and its community, because it forms Europe's largest innovation network. And with its knowledge and innovation communities, which are called KICs for short, you'll hear the word KICs thrown around a lot, operates across 3 core pillars of activities: entrepreneurial education, research, and business creation, most importantly. So to make sure that you have a clearer picture of what that community is all about and what it can do for you, how it can be helpful, I'd like to give the floor to Catherine Schreiber. She is the co-founder and ex-co-CEO of Advitos. That's a medtech scale-up. She's the winner of the EIT Women Leadership Award in 2022. She now supports startups in their early stage financial planning, and she's also chair of the EIT Alumni Board. So she knows this community very well, and she has quite a journey to share with you. Please put your hands together for Catherine Schreiber.
Thank you very much. And I don't know why this is in my profile, Nexus Impact Ventures. Unfortunately, I'm not an investor, so I have no money to invest. I am, as Karen said, thank you for your introduction, co-founder and ex-co-CEO of Advitos, a deep tech medtech company. I will tell about that a little later. But today I'm here in my role as recently elected EIT Alumni Board Chair. And I'm happy to have the pleasure to welcome you to this EIT INNOVEIT event. I also wanted to share a little about our EIT, but you've perfectly described it. And I think, and now I'd rather tell you more how my journey with EIT exemplifies the transformative power of this network, and also how we at Advitos experienced firsthand the invaluable support we got from the EIT. So, together with my co-founder Bernhard Kreimann, I've not only developed a multi-organ support device from idea to market entry and beyond, but also a startup from a research phase to a now fully certified medtech company with 75 employees covering all aspects necessary to market and to further develop our device. What did we develop? It's called ADVAS for Advanced Organ Support. And in one device, we combine liver, kidney, and lung support, as well as sepsis treatment for patients on intensive care unit. And clinical data shows that ADVAS actually more than doubles the survival rate on the intensive care unit from 20% up to 50%. We are currently available in clinics in Germany and Austria and preparing market entry in neighboring countries, European countries. My journey with EIT. So in 2019, we joined the EIT Health Catapult program, and we secured 3rd place. And that was a valuable, crucial validation for our investors. And I mentor, actually, now I'm a mentor in this program, and yesterday was a mentoring session, and I saw that they put our picture when we are celebrating with the 10,000 grand check in hand on stage. That's on the website. You see us celebrating on that website. And through that, we got a great network through supporters, pitch coaches, and we also met EIT Digital Access to Finance. And they were really crucial because we started raising 20 million euro financing round in February 2020. So the beginning of the pandemic, yeah, that was probably the most unideal time to start a fundraising round. But thanks to EIT Digital, we were able to close it in May 2021. And because they really reached out to 200 strategic and financial investors tailored to our product and our company. And yeah, last but not least, how did I come to win the EIT Women Leader Award in 2022? EIT Digital actually nominated me. And to be honest, I would have never applied. So shout out to all of you. Let imposter syndrome not stop you from applying for anything. Yeah, because I never thought I was really even worth to go to the finals. I also think that I did not only win this award because of our achievements with Adritos. I believe it was also because I launched the Mental Strength for Founders program in 2022. And this aims, at that time, really, there were many, many accelerator programs, and none of them really addressed the mental challenges you face as a founder. And this program aims to, give you, not only raise awareness, but also give you practical tools on how to better deal with that stress, to give you a community of peers where you can be open and vulnerable, and also to give you some business coaching, because I realized you can be strong as hell if you don't solve your operational problems. It's still really painful. So this is my journey with EIT. And I'm today, let me just think, I'm today super excited about this program because I also really believe in the power of diversity. Bernard and I are a perfect example for that. He was 20 years older, he was male, I was female. He was a medical doctor, I was an engineer. And we were, from our personality, totally opposite, but we were united in our values and our vision. And he was a great support as well. So I also want to thank the men here in the room, because I think it's really important to ally with each other in this important quest for gender balance. And I'm excited here that here we can also showcase and highlight the importance of women in innovation and investment. And also, you will learn about some of EIT's great initiatives they've implemented to close the gender gap. So I invite you to enjoy this day full of inspiration and networking. And as you all also are coming to the Slush, you're also, of course, invited to come to our booth, the EIT Alumni Community 6C5. We're showcasing 3 AI startups and also having a networking lunch tomorrow from 11:30 till 1:30. But for now, let's focus on today and enjoy today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Catherine, for those welcoming words. And because we're here in Helsinki, of course, we thought it was only fitting to kick off our proceedings with some insights from a local voice. And this is one that some of you here from Helsinki may know, but those of you who don't, you're going to be very glad to hear this voice. Monika Liikamaa is the co-founder and co-CEO of the fintech company Enfuse. She has over 20 years experience in finance and tech, and she advocates tirelessly for social inclusion and empowering women and girls in tech. She's the type of person who gets bored very quickly. You'll hear more about that when you hear about her absolutely sparkling career in just a moment. She doesn't mince her words, which is something that we should all look to as an example. And she demonstrates every day it is possible to do good and be successful and make money. So prepare to be inspired, and please welcome Monika Liikamaa.
Thank you.
Let's put you in the middle, Monika,
Okay, cool.
over
Thanks.
here.
And thank you, and it's great to see so many here, so thank you for
Yeah,
having
absolutely. It's great to see really a full room. You've had such an incredible career, and I'm wondering if you could just give our audience the nutshell version, maybe sort of some of the highlights of your personal journey on the way to being CEO of the biggest fintech in Europe and one that has managed to land the most funding.
me. Yeah. Well, try to compress my life. I turned 50, so it's an awesome age because I really don't give a shit anymore. I don't think I actually ever did, but I think started off, I'm born and raised in the north part of Sweden to Finnish parents, and then moved to Finland just when we got out of the depression. Had a good fortune to study engineering, so I became a developer and landed in the telco industry. So I saw the dot-com boom and the crash. Then I decided to become an entrepreneur, started my first company in 2006, and became a consultant building a bank. So I was part of building S-Bank, which is a big retail bank in Finland, became the CIO of the bank, did some mergers and acquisitions, got a bit bored, had 4 children with this one husband, and still together 30 years and going strong. And then actually went into building processing, met an awesome team, built from scratch payment processing infrastructure, and then I wanted to scale. The owners of the company didn't, so I quit my job, apparently bored again because I did my executive MBA, because I had too little things to do apparently. And then in 2016, February, I was presented with an opportunity, because I'm a strong believer in networking, that then became ENNOVEIT. So a guy called up to me and said, would you like to become a CEO of a neobank? I said, no. But how are you going to run the infrastructure? And they said, like, well, we're going to do a tender process, procurement process. I said, is it okay if I make a proposal? And he was like, yeah, sure. So then I called my co-founder, my former colleague Denise, and I asked her, should we? She said yes, and then she asked what? And I was like, shouldn't we just build a company that does processing better, faster, and globally scalable? I mean, how hard can that be? And that's the journey we've been on, almost 9 years soon. And we've raised closer to 70 million euros, women-founded tech company, and yeah, happy to change the world for a better. I think as a mother of 4, I have 2 daughters and 2 sons. It is very important for me to try to make this better than maybe the previous generation.
A fantastic point of departure. And so this is a 100% tech company with pretty close to 50% women in your team. There's often a lot of talk that the talent in tech isn't there, that there isn't enough of it. How did you do that, and where did you find those women? Tell us sort of your thoughts on.
I think, first of all, the only thing you need to know when you come and work at ENNOVEIT is English. So we decided from day one that in order to scale global, there are some things that has to be decided early on, and then we decided on the language. Because we could have decided Finnish or Swedish or something else, and that wouldn't have been very easy to scale. So everything has been built to scale global and English as a foundation, which means that when we started the company, remote was something that was also part of how we work, meaning that the best talents are the most important one. And also, as we are women, we look for diversity. We believe that diversity is a key to succeed. So there's a lot of awesome women out there. I think one of the big challenges with women is a thing that I don't believe that exists in real life, and that's imposter syndrome. I think that's just some weirdo bullshit that we are being fed so that we believe that we are not worthy. And as young children, we are already like, if I have girls or boys, like girls need to be nice and quiet and boys can do whatever. So when you take that off the table, when you actually look for talent with the right mindset that aren't assholes, because skills can be taught, there's a lot of great women and guys out there.
You mentioned the importance of networks and the importance of events like this, the importance of events like Slush, and the many, many events that happen over the course of the year. We're going to be talking specifically about how to network better later on today. But Give us your thoughts on
Yeah,
networking.
I am a strong believer in networking because in the end of the day, you never know whose help you will need. And with meeting a lot of people and talking, you always have someone to give advice. And I think one of the key aspects is that we also, especially as women, tend to somehow be apologetic and afraid of seeking help. When I founded Enfuse, I knew what I wanted to build, but I didn't know how to get there. So my world was filled with obstacles and challenges, but I always knew someone to call. I always knew someone to call because I met so many people throughout my career. So I always call and I said, hey, can you give me some advice or tips or insights? And never in my life has anyone said no. They might have said, I actually don't know how to help you, but you should talk to that person. And then you get referred. So networking is really a critical aspect. And that's why when I started Enfuse back in 2016, Slush had been around for some years. But in reality, the whole fintech ecosystem and the whole innovation landscape looked very different. So I'm really strong believer in these kind of events. So make sure you stay for the networking because you never know who you meet. That person might be your next founder, might be your next investor, or just might be there to support you when you need it.
You mentioned the mindset shift that needs to happen for women to sort of support one another better, for women to actually have better access to entrepreneurial careers. And your company actually has taken steps to improve education in STEM, AI, and tech for boys and girls.
Yes.
Can you just, how do we make it possible for girls to access that scene and not feel like they have to hold back? What do you think has to change?
I think, first of all, us women have to change as mothers. I think a lot of problems come from the upbringing. I remember when I founded the company and my mother-in-law, who was born just after the war in Finland, her comment was like, oh my God, why did you quit your job? Because I was a banker, like I drove BMW, had a good salary. And she was like, you're going to go bankrupt. Because that's the whole mindset of risk. So that's failure, fear of failure. I think that's one thing. So how we talk to our children. And then, of course, in those scenarios where, let's say you have parents who don't see the light in the right way, schools critically important. How do we make sure that in schools we are taught that we are equal? Because I just looked at a video clip from I don't remember who had done it, but up until 10 years of age, girls believe they are equally good as boys. And then something starts nagging there. Then they start distrusting themselves. And then we look again, like from a school perspective, boys are not succeeding as well in school as girls, but they have less mental problems. So again, schools is important. So what we have done already since 2017 is being part of this STEM education, that we actually enable girls and boys together to solve problems. That's why I'm also a strong believer in team sports.
Team sports.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So my daughter especially, they've been focusing on football because especially my youngest one, she has a very high IQ. So, but she can easily be not the most nicest person. So she really needs to learn how to lose and how to win in a team, because I'm trusting that will make her a better team player. And again, even though AI is coming, and there is a bet in Silicon Valley, like what company will be the first billion-dollar valuation company with one employee, I'm still a believer that if you want to do big things, you need to do it in teams. So team capabilities, not being an asshole, critical ways to succeed.
Not being an asshole and not being inhibited yourself by imposter syndrome, but just as a final word to all the women in the room who are aspiring entrepreneurs or fundraising entrepreneurs or considering a career in entrepreneurship, investors, we've got such a wonderful cross-section out here. the importance of role models for women and girls in tech.
Yeah, and I think in general, my only advice is this courage. Courage is the only thing you need to succeed, because in the end of the day, what's the worst thing that can happen? Yeah, I mean, most likely people shouldn't be dying a lot, even though you did stuff that make them live longer. So that's good stuff. But like in general, courage is the only thing you need, because think about the possibility of succeeding. And I think also as women, we need to be more like the guys in that sense, that they actually uplift each other much more, because they don't compete in the way we compete. We compete in the boardrooms because we think there's a limited set of seats. There isn't. We are our biggest challenge. So let's embrace and change that, because we need to make sure that however we are biased by upbringing, we won't, take that to the next generation. And only by that can we become equal, because we are awesome and together we can be amazing. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a great event.
Thank you very much, Monika Likama.
Thank you. Thank you.
For those inspiring words.
Thank you.
Purpose and vision. Well, Monika spoke a lot about how she got there, but obviously the idea of doing good and working toward a better future is inherent in everything she does. And that's also the agenda of our next keynote, which is called From Challenge to Change, How Purpose-Driven Capital Can Drive Sustainable Growth. Laura Wurstel, and actually she's French, so I should say Laura Wurstel, is a partner at BNP Paribas Solar Impulse Venture Fund. Now, just to clarify, the BNP Paribas, for those of you who don't know, is the second largest bank in Europe, and that fund invests in climate tech startups across Europe and North America that drive the ecological transition. It already reached its minimum target, I think, of 150 million already back in July, so it's looking for its next disclosures. Please welcome to Laura Wurstel for this keynote.
Thank you, Karen.
Very nice to see you.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you very much for joining this great event organized by INNOVEIT. And just want to thank you, Karen and Monika, for the inspiring discussion that just took place. As a mother of two daughters, it's definitely inspiring, and it's going to give me a lot of food for thoughts. Diversity is often discussed in abstract terms, but its importance is deeply personal to many of us in the room. Challenges can take many forms, ranging from being one of the few women in a room to navigating unconscious bias and funding disparities. From a personal standpoint, preparing this keynote made me think a lot about the place of women in venture capital. For example, I realized that even when this is factually the case, I rarely find myself thinking that I'm one of the very few women in the room. And that's not a positive. It's simply a reflection of how accustomed I've become to this imbalance. That being said, my views are most likely biased, as I was faced with standards far less compelling for women at the beginning of my career than today. As a student in finance first, where we were less than 10 women for a class of more than 50. My first job wasn't much different, but I have to say that I didn't choose the right, the easier path to blend in, as I joined a private equity team specialized in oil and gas, where I was the only woman on the investment team. I'll never forget attending an oil and gas conference in Texas early in my career, so I was young at the point, and you can picture that over 95% of the room was male, most of them senior to me, and as a humorous aside, I vividly recall that at least half were wearing cowboys' hats. It was quite a quintessential cliché. Moments like these present you with two choices. You can feel out of place, or you can let them ignite your fighting spirit. For me, they did the latter. But when I reflect in my earlier career, the first thing and most important lesson that I learned was this. To thrive, whether you're a man or a woman, you need to feel aligned not only with the content of your work, but also with the people you're working alongside. While investing in traditional energy might have looked like an excellent job on paper, it didn't align with my values or aspirations. That realization led me to pivot to climate tech venture capital, where I found a workplace culture that suited me better. The sector's focus on innovation, rapid iteration, and the promise of a greener future align with my interests. And I was drawn to the open-mindedness that defines much of the field. To come back to the importance of diversity, women are increasingly represented in venture capital firms and at the head of startups. We've seen growth, and there is general awareness and willingness to have more balanced teams. This growth is great, and female-founded companies have exhibited momentum over the past decade, but as Karen mentioned in her introduction, it's not enough. According to a 2023 PitchBook study, among venture capital firms with more than 50 million in assets under management, only 15% of decision makers were women in Europe. And there's still a major funding gap. Women-led startups receive a disproportionately small share of venture capital funding. This raises critical questions. Is it due to biases about women's ability to scale businesses? Are there simply fewer women-led startups to fund? Is the lower number of female GPs impacting capital raising prospects for female funders? Or is self-censorship playing a role, with women holding back due to a lack of confidence? I'm not sure anyone has answers to these questions, and the reasons are likely multifactorial. What is clear, though, is that the challenge persists. Yet, challenges can also be opportunities. With fewer women in venture capital, it's easier to stand out, and I believe women should definitely take advantage of it. Diversity, however, should not be about just representation. It's just not a box to check off. It's a powerful source of insight and innovation, and a catalyst for better decision-making. Several studies have shown that diversity pays off. Teams that reflect a range of perspectives, backgrounds, and experiences are better equipped to navigate complex challenges. In the field of climate tech, in which I'm investing, women are often advocating for more responsible and ethical business practices, and it's therefore a strength to have a diverse team. In a challenging economic environment, diversity is a critical factor for success, one that startups and investors cannot afford to overlook. Speaking of market challenges, the venture capital industry shifted a couple of years ago from a hype to a downward trend fueled by external events. High interest rates, geopolitical turmoil, and policy uncertainty, such as in France with parliament dissolution, France where I'm coming from, and in the US with the uncertainty stemming from recent presidential elections, have turned an overly enthusiastic market in a more cautious and skeptical environment. However, venture capital is cyclical, even if we tend to forget it. Bumps come and go, booms come and go as well. What matters are the underlying trends supporting long-term growth, and I believe that climate tech, in which I invest, and in Europe in particular, underlying trends supporting the ecological transition are here to stay. What does this mean for startups, especially those in climate tech in the short term? Unfortunately, it doesn't mean that all companies will thrive. While capital is still available, investors have become far more selective. Valuations are lower, and power is, these days, more in the hands of investors. Some types of companies are feeling the pinch more than others. Capital-intensive businesses with significant industrialization needs, or those with long R&D cycles, are finding it especially difficult to secure funding. This creates added risk for early venture capital funds who may struggle to generate returns for their limited partners. These challenges lead to a critical question. How can value be created at each stage of investment? To build viable and thriving businesses, investors must believe that their capital can deliver appropriate returns for the risks undertaken. In the current environment, and in particular in Europe, this has meant lower entry valuation for startups, but has also forced companies to become more pragmatic, highly capital efficient, and laser focused on execution in order to attract investment. The startups most likely to succeed today are those that will be able to find the right balance between growth and cash burn, that will accept not to fall into overinflated valuations. These companies are, in my mind, the ones where value will have the most chances to be created for all in the current environment. In climate tech, despite the flurry of new climate tech funds, we're only spending a fraction of what's needed to reduce our environmental impact. The work and capital required is enormous. There is, however, a willingness to collaborate across boundaries and find new, innovative, pragmatic solutions to address the issue. Strong networks and partnerships are essential in this process. Effective venture capital goes beyond providing financial support. It offers mentorship, key connections, and market insights that can accelerate growth. In sustainable venture capital, profitability is just one part of the equation. While generalist VCs prioritize returns, sustainable venture capital investors balance profitability with purpose. They actively seek out startups that not only offer high returns, but also have a positive environmental impact. The two concepts are not mutually exclusive. They are mutually reinforcing. The fund I'm a partner in, an SFDR 9 fund, reflects the synergy between venture capital expertise from BNP Paribas and climate tech knowledge from the Solar Impulse Foundation. When we invest in a startup, we're not looking to simply tick off an ESG box. Startups are inherently resource constraints. They are growing quickly with limited time and personnel to tackle every priority. We co-develop ESG and impact plans with our portfolio companies and focus on defining environmental objectives and KPIs that are directly tied to their business strategies. These KPIs must be easy to measure and integrate seamlessly into the company's growth plan. They should serve the business, not burden it. Venture capital funds can play a role here, helping startups define KPIs that align with their growth trajectory while advancing meaningful environmental impact. By balancing profitability with purpose and leveraging strong partnerships, sustainable venture capital can drive both financial success and environmental progress. It's a challenging journey, but one worth taking, and I'm hoping that women will take an increasing role in driving the success of startups in the future. Thank you very much.
Merci, Laura. Merci to Laura Vostel. Many thanks, Laura, and that sets us up perfectly for our next session because we can build on those themes of diversity, sustainability, balance between growth and capital, and between purpose and profit. And we're going to explore what kinds of strategies can actually make the VC ecosystem more inclusive. So I'll just reiterate that current status quo, that depending on the geography, those female check writers represent between 5 and 15% of angel and VC investors, while female founders are receiving only 2% of VC capital. And with the market challenges that Laura just talked about and the inherent risk in that scene anyway, that's going to make that very tough to change those numbers. So our next panel is called, Is the Next Generation of Venture Capital Funds Ready for Deep Tech, Ready for Impact and Diversity Challenges? And please welcome our panelists. Inga Griga is here. She's a business development manager at BMW I Ventures, which invests in tech solutions for the transportation, manufacturing, and supply chain industries. Please give her a warm round of applause. Go take a seat, Inga. Nice to see you. Bertrand van Leersum is a partner and investment director at the Borsky Fund in the Netherlands, which invests in ambitious female entrepreneurs. Welcome, Bertrand. And Kasia Fiazecki is the CEO of European Women in VC. I mentioned them earlier. That's a community of over 1,000 senior female venture capital investors from all over Europe and beyond. Welcome, Kasia. And welcome to all of you, and thanks for being here. So we said we would start off with a quick round of introductions, just basically give us in a nutshell, sort of the nutshell version of who you are and what it is that your organization does. And Kasia, let's start with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. So my name is Kasia Piasecki. I am running European Women in VC. This is the largest organization associating women in venture and growth funds. We are very active and we are empowering women, associating women in venture. But also we are activating, engaging public institutions, different other stakeholders in the industry, policymakers. So we are acting in the ecosystem, we are working between the systems and trying to connect and generate value through this connection. I'm personally a founder myself, also with experience in fundraising, so I'm not surprised about the 2%. I vividly remember this. And now turned entrepreneur, turned investor, so hopefully with ability to
Going to be able to change that ecosystem from the other side. Thank you very much for that. Bertrand.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Bertrand van Leersum. I'm an investment director partner at Borsky Fund. And at Borsky Fund, we invest in tech companies with a specific focus on diversity. So female co-founders and diverse teams is a prerequisite from our end to invest. We are a 50 million fund based in Amsterdam with private LPs, both institutional as private investors.
And just because maybe the audience doesn't know this, but you are the only male partner at the Borsky Fund, so what we would call in German the only rooster in the coop. Can you just share your inspiration to join a fund like that?
Yes, and to add to that, on a partner level, yes, there are two female partner levels. Other than that, our fund is about 40% male, 60% female. So practice what you preach, we also have a diverse team ourselves. Well, from my end, I've been active in venture capital since 2009, built up 2 portfolios, did a full cycle. And I joined Borsky Fund because we know the numbers. We already shared them, so I don't need to repeat them. But what we often see is that people which are screaming out loudest, which have the network, which have the connections, which have the role models in place, those are the ones who get funding as easy as well. So from my perspective, we really have to focus on investing in the abilities and capabilities of women and challenging them, what is it, how do you call it, making sure that we select those entrepreneurs based on their capabilities and not so much on their network or their the absence of.
So on merit.
On merit, yes, exactly.
Okay.
And maybe very short. Second point is the world population consists of 51% of female. So let's make sure that we invest a bit more and make sure that we have innovations which are also targeting that group. It's a large opportunity, but also a necessity in order to make sure that we don't end up with a mesh of similar products.
Thank you for pointing that out, Bertrand van Leersum. That's great to hear. Inga Krieger, you started in industrial design, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe you can just tell us, you have a very interesting journey also into VC and then what the BMV iVentures Fund is about.
Yes, that's correct. So first of all, thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here today. And yeah, it's a long path into my venture capital scene. So for my background, I'm an automotive industrial designer and also business administrative. So I think I'm well packed also for my business development journey right now. So maybe I joined more than 20 years the automotive industry from the supplier side to the first tier supplier to BMW Group, and 3.5 years ago I joined BMW iVentures as business development manager, and by now as managing director for our Munich team as well. So we are the corporate venture capital fund of the BMW Group. We are investing along the mobility industry. We have 800 million asset under management in total, and our headquarters in Silicon Valley and in Munich, so we take best of both worlds, we say it like that. So we learned in the Silicon venture where the venture capitalist grows out, and so we are more structured like a venture capitalist and invested in more than 80 companies. We have by now 60 active portfolio companies along North America and Europe.
Amazing, and you've invested in so many different things, such an incredible cross-section, if you will, of deep tech kind of initiatives. Can you, I mean, nano coatings, battery technologies, green steel, can you maybe just give us an idea of some of those 80 companies?
Yeah, I mean, it's just not easy to pick just a few out of them, but you already mentioned about green steel, so we invested in Boston Metal. It's a Boston-based company which is doing a CO2-reduced steel production. I think what a challenge play field right now. Or maybe also invested in Becamp. It's a Swiss-based company. They are doing out of flax, so natural material performance parts, what we already know, like carbon fiber. So these parts can use instead of carbon fiber, but with a CO2 reduction at the end of the day. So this is just a small niche and where we are invested in, but this shows very clear the playground where we are in.
Plant-based leather was another one that stood out for me. Of course, so many things that actually one doesn't realize are somehow going to find a way to be absolutely crucial for the automotive industry. So thank you very much for telling us about that. Kazia, I'd like to come back to you because I mentioned your report earlier on in my introduction, and released I think it's an annual report from European Women in VC, and the 2024 version came out. Can you tell us and tell our audience the most critical findings of that report this year?
Yes, of course. So as European Women in VC, we are doing this annual research. We started with capturing the VC market through the gender perspective. We released, as you said, the fourth report this year. So we started with, like capturing this, how much asset under management is managed by women. So it was already said it's around 10%. Then we discovered that only 2% of venture capital goes into female-led startups. So we were digging into this topic, and in one of the reports, whereas I have to maybe stress out that the reports are data-driven, right? So it is not based on feelings and trends, but really we are trying to do the survey and then get as many answers as possible so that the reports are also quantitative and based on numbers. And the discovery from the 2023 was that actually female-led funds outperform, or diverse-led funds outperform the male-only funds. And if you increase the representation on the decision-making level by 10 percentage points, the IRR increases by 1.3 percentage points, right? So we clearly see this is, of course, this is the trend, let's say, or this is an indication, but we see that the more diverse teams are outperforming teams which consist only of like the very homogeneous group of decision makers. And this is this is very obvious because if you have more diverse decision makers, they are having different perspectives, they are representing different problems, right, in life. And that's why those decisions are just more efficient and better. So these are the critical findings from the gender perspective. Last year, we had a collaboration with Founders Forum that the report clearly showed that venture capital is, of course, fueled by returns. So this is the most important thing for venture. But also all the folks in venture capital are very much motivated to make impact. Venture capital, it's it's not an easy business. It requires a lot of, strength and resilience and coping with all the startups who are, we are always laughing. Startups, this is like as a VC, you are as a teacher in the classroom, so somebody is sick, somebody is not prepared, some people are outperforming, so you have constant struggle also in your daily life, constant problems with your portfolio companies. And but people who are in venture, in my opinion, there are visionaries who want to go after this, and work in this very difficult environment because they want to make the impact. And the number which I would like you to remember from this report, 88% of our respondents, including LPs and GPs, say that that the impact they are making in their daily life, this is what drives them, and this is why they are doing this.
Okay, so thanks very much, and we've got that data. But it's interesting that when we spoke before this conference, obviously to prepare for this discussion, it was very clear that those numbers are stagnating. You said it yourself, Bertrand. They really haven't budged for quite a while. Why is that? Because I mean, these numbers are. It seems like it should be a no-brainer, and that diverse teams should be the norm everywhere. Why? Where do you see the barriers?
Well, we just also in the corridor we spoke about it. I think it's still about culture and biases. So
Gender biases.
Gender biases.
Cultural and gender biases.
Yes, both. Mm-hmm. And what we see is that a successful exit entrepreneur, after an exit, he's and specifically indicating he is paying off his mortgage, making some low-risk investments, and then there's a bit left which you can also invest in the next generation. But if it's a guy with a bold guy, white male, with a software company, he probably will invest it in the next generation, which turns to be as someone who he can relate to, and then it's a guy with a software ID. This similar approach might be applicable to women, but then you have to be in that position first in order to make sure that there's decision power and capital to deploy at the first place. So we have to make sure that the snowball effect on investing in female entrepreneurs, enabling female LPs to invest in funds, and having female GPs, that needs to be in place in order to make sure that we invest more and see also the returns from that.
Okay, thanks very much. Now, Inga, you're dealing with this in practice all the time, obviously, because BMW I Ventures operates in a traditionally male-dominated space, obviously automotive. How does it go about integrating D&I, diversity and inclusion, and impact when evaluating and partnering with these new startups?
I think we have to look at several angles to maybe find an answer for your question, because I mean the first point is already what Bertrand mentioned about we need also female investors on the first-hand side, because it's like this like me buyers, so you're investing in the other side, where you come from. The venture capital scene is male dominated, and also the deep tech side, so we see it on both sides. So first of all, we need more female investors, and on the other side, of course, to encourage the female to found more, because we now heard two previous speakers which made the path through this, so thank you for the both who spoke up before. And of course, to encourage the companies to build up their diverse teams. And we can say this as well from our background. I mean, we are collaborating very closely with BMW, and they are really engaging very much on diversity. So like they have a really huge event in North America to bring smaller companies with the corporate together to encourage diverse environments, because we have heard all these numbers by now, but it makes sense to have these collaborative initiatives to bring them together. And I think this is a crucial role at the beginning, or I mean, not really at the beginning, but where we are at the moment to bring the parties together.
And I'm just curious to know how has your, yes, would you
want
like to contribute something right away? Go ahead.
Because I understand that we have in the room many female entrepreneurs, right?
Indeed.
So I wanted just to say that female entrepreneurs and female ideas are good business. And I have like one funny anecdote, and this is very stereotypic. It's not about environment and plant-based leather. So I heard that, you know, Bernhard said 51% of the society are women. Women are driving cars, right? And I heard once that the system of opening the car was developed to just press the button because women have usually longer nails. And this typical, you know, opening didn't work, right? So I don't wonder why BMW Group is like interested in those innovations, these observations which women have, right? Because they are also users and they have different bodies, different needs. They drive differently cars, right? And those insights which you know, this is how you generate business ideas, right? So you discover a problem, and then you are trying to figure it out how to solve it, right? So this is very stereotypic and biased, longer nails, and so on. But you know, this is how the innovation happens, and this is why, you know, we have to convince the decision makers to listen up and to be open. This is, you know, this is consumer good car, but look at the healthcare industry, right? How many, what are the differences between the bodies, male bodies and female bodies? And heart attack is different in case of, you know, the symptoms are different in case of women and men. So there is a lot, big room for improvement, and I think that, you know, discovering this niche, female entrepreneurs, obviously 2% is very, very low. It's a good business, right?
That's why it's always very interesting to see the kinds of startups that we end up with from all-female teams, because they identify problems that have just been overlooked. I'm just curious, before we go to sort of some general questions that you can all contribute to. Inga, how has your leadership actually influenced BMVI Ventures' portfolio? Because, I mean, here we are, you're the bridge between the LPs and the GPs, and you're in the decision-making, on the decision-making side. How has that worked there?
It's always a good question, and I think, I mean, it's really different and depends on company and on the product itself as well. I mean, when we look at companies we're potentially investing in, of course, it needs to be a unique selling point, and of course the founder team, we are investing in people as well. So I think this is crucial, and it's not only about male, female, it's about that the product can scale and the surround as well. But from my personal perspective, and I'm on the business development role, so I'm the bridge between our portfolio companies and external partners. So we introduce them to BMW, yourself, and so on. So there I see, I mean, on the one side for the business development, this is such a female-dominated field. It's because there you see a lot of skills which are required for connecting parties, bring the dots together. And this is where we see where all our skills, our female skills, are where we present in this play.
And very valuable.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. Kasia, to come back to you, I mean, do women founders tend to lead more impact-driven firms, or is that just a stereotype? Can you just comment on that based also on your research and experience as a founder? And
so I think that, you know, impact, we will, I think, talk about it a little bit later also, but impact is so difficult to really grasp and define, and there are so many definitions. VC funds are trying to, everybody's trying to do something impactful, as from our research we know. But I think this is natural, right? That women have this, they are more inclined naturally to to do impact, right? To do something which improves the quality of life, which improves the quality of the life of their children and so on. So I think that women are like generally more inclined to do impact startups.
Okay. Bertrand, you told me 75% of your capital is deployed in the Netherlands. Is that correct? Yes. Roughly, yes. So you mentioned culture earlier. Are certain countries, have you found that certain countries are more challenging to invest in? And feel free, the others also, to kind of comment on this, due to cultural differences in gender balance?
I would say it's...
We're dealing with a really mixed bag here in Europe. Obviously, the experiences are going to be very different, but I'm just wondering what your observations are.
Yeah, well, we see some differences between, for example, the UK, in which they have quite a mature venture capital system, ecosystem, still getting funding for companies which are not generating revenue north of 1 million is still challenging, and then you see that there is they also look for capital outside of the UK. In Spain, for example, you see that early stage medtech investments do get funding, but there's a lack of follow-on funding, and then then they lean towards other European member states. And on the culture, I think it's much more about the real deep tech PhD founder profiles, which also need to bridge towards the finance world in order to relate and have a bring their message across for non-tech guys, so to say.
We talked also about something called pinkwashing, which I think can be applied just as easily to the LGBTQ kind of sort of diversity push as to women. How does Borsky Fund actually ensure that its support for these women entrepreneurs actually, goes well beyond that, or is not in any danger of being accused of that?
Yeah, I like the term pinkwashing, but for us it's really it's the core of our fund. So we address it in we have triple effect, and we measure it as well. So first of all, no female founders, no diverse teams, then we don't invest. So okay. That's a hard prerequisite. Second, we invest in women tech or femtech propositions, which in itself also make a contribution in making sure that the innovation centric focus on women gets to the market sooner and better. And then there's the investor side. We have 75% of our private investors are women, and we provide venture capital modules and courses as well in order to get them up to speed, share our insights, approaches, knowledge, in order to make also to support them in their private investments. And on a professional level, young professionals, we have a continuous program for scouts and female young professionals, which also have some had double MBAs. But they want to turn into the VC ecosystem, and we provide them a program in which they can work with us full-time basis for 4 months and act as a stepping stone in order to make sure that we get more women into the VC world.
Okay, thanks very much. Now, this question really, all of you can feel free to pitch in on this. Deep tech and impact-driven ventures, obviously, that we've been talking about, are typically very high risk and often require longer lead times and possibly very specialized knowledge. How can VCs ensure that women-led deep tech startups are actually getting equitable opportunities and support? Kazia. What kinds of strategies have you found to be effective?
Yeah, so maybe I will start with, or I will focus my answer on the capital flow into female-led venture funds. So what we are lacking is it's only 10% asset under management in the hands of women. And what we are working on as European women in VC is to push more capital into venture so that women have more power and more investment opportunities. And this especially is important in the deep tech area where the horizon, you know, the commercialization process is much longer than the typical VC investment horizon, right? So as a VC investor, we have to be prepared to, you know, to make the second round, right? And not press the entrepreneurs to, you know, to deliver returns in the time frame which is impossible to achieve, right? So
those teams also tend to be younger, if I'm not mistaken, deep tech teams.
You know, it depends, right? We know cases where you have people who are 50 and finding, you know, deep tech companies. But the problem is that, you know, from the inception until the invention, deep tech product is going to the production, right? It takes 10 years, 12 years, right? So we should, as investors, we should, like, you know, be ready to make the second round and not let the deep tech company bleed out because there is no more funding.
So that's essentially introducing a level of flexibility that isn't traditionally there. Inga, any comments on that?
I just had one number in mind which came up during Kasia's answer is like, what I read is about 73% of female-led funds were founded in the past 5 years. So we see that, I mean, we discussed it already, when you get more investors and more money on the female side, then you get more startup funded by.
So we're doing the right thing here. We're talking about it. We're talking about it. We're imparting this knowledge.
And sometimes the numbers just make it absolute clear in that end. Yeah.
Bringing more women into that fold. We don't have so much time left, so I want to do another tour de table and just basically ask you, because the title of this talk was, is the next generation of venture capital actually fit for purpose for all of these challenges that are coming up? What are your hopes for the next generation of venture capitalists, and how can they reshape the industry to be more impact but also inclusivity focused? Inga, let's start with you.
You look at
Just
me,
yeah.
Yeah. I
You're
would
warmed
say go for it, right? So don't hold you back, do it, be authentic, and yeah, just be encouraging, just do it. Yeah.
Bertrand, what do you see that as sort of what needs to happen in the coming years? If we see this very, very rapid development as a fund that's investing really very in a very focused manner on female-led initiatives, what do you sort of hope to see in the next 5 years?
Well, basically, it ties into successor funds, it ties into next stage and later stage companies which are led by women. And as you pointed out, if all funds are, the majority, like 75% is of the women-focused funds are only founded in the last 5 years, then you still are waiting for the second funds, and the second funds will typically be bigger, but that also brings the capabilities and capital to invest in later stage companies. So you need to, as you pointed out, just you have to have both sides of the equation. More women stepping up and just going for their enterprise of their mission, their dreams. And on the other hand, we need to make sure that the next generation of female professionals also moving the ladder in the venture capital industry. And I think that is slowly but steady progressing. Yeah.
Thanks, Kasia.
Yes, I also agree with that we have to work on the both sides on the equation. On the other hand, empowering VC funds by putting more capital into female-led venture. Also clearing the path for women to become general partners and decision makers. Fighting or empowering men and making, more aware that there are bias and all human beings have to work on bias. On the other hand, encouraging women to go after their dreams and finding companies, but also giving them the right tools, as what we are doing here, I guess, so that they are prepared for pitching, they are prepared with their business model canvas, that they are investment ready. So that's on the other side.
So, and just if I can, you were basically moving into the idea of advice of what kind of skills if women who want to enter the VC space, what kind of skills should they be prioritizing in preparing for that switch? You've done it yourself.
Yeah, so first of all, working on the business model canvas, so understanding what is, how the different parts of the business of this puzzle are interconnected and what is the actual value proposition, what problem do they want to solve. So this is like really understanding who is the persona, right? So typical problem with every startup. So who I'm selling to, right? So business model canvas, that's so like business skills on one side. On the other side, networking and building networks which will support you in on different levels. First on business levels, connecting you to your potential clients, investors, but also someone who will give you a hand when you have a difficult time, because those difficult moments are all the time there, right? And actually, you should be very much working on your mental health and resilience and balance and peace of mind, because this is, in the business, this is one of the most difficult parts of running a company, that most of the time you're alone in it, right? And you have, at the end of the day, you are the one who is making the decisions. So that's very challenging, this part.
Interesting challenges to note, and there are a lot of good people in the room, obviously, to talk to. Catherine Schreiber being someone who is very into advocating for mental health and resilience for founders. So just to point that out, yet again, if anybody wants to approach her during one of the networking hours. Any final words from you, Bertrand, in terms of advice for any of the women out here preparing to enter the VC space?
Entering the VC space from an entrepreneurial perspective.
Yes.
Yeah. Be bold. I think men tend to showcase the hockey stick way more and steeper. And from a VC perspective, we always take the hockey stick, we cut it in half, and then we start calculating. So if you're too modest and too pragmatic on what is actually feasible, you already are doing yourself short, because we will still start with cutting your prognosis in half. Same accounts for just getting sufficient funds in. That's always a challenge. But what I really see is that women tend to be more, they think it's much more challenging in accepting money from others to grow their business, because there's risk to it. And men tend to have the bias that, well, that's part of the game. If we don't succeed, you were there when you contributed.
So inhibitions, cultural inhibitions, or gender stereotype inhibitions in both directions. Of
Yes.
getting out, of putting themselves out there, but also of actually accepting,
Yes, exactly.
accepting
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. Inga, any final words from you in terms of advice also for our audience?
I think we heard already some
Yeah.
points out of that, but I would underline to have a strong network in place. So connect you with advisors around peers and so on. And I would say also be not too shy to get advice and or ask for help at the end of the day. This will bring you forward.
Okay, well, thanks for those plugs on the networking as well, which is one of the main purposes of today. And thank you very much for all of your insights and for being here for this panel, Kasia, Bertrand, and Inga. Give them a round of applause.
Thank you very much.
Oops. And with that, we can move on to panel number 2. Thanks very much to our panelists there, celebrating success and how to climb the entrepreneurial mountain. And I would like to introduce our panelists for that. Olivia Nestius is an entrepreneur and the CEO of Graphmatech. That's an advanced material startup that enables the green transition with an interesting material called graphene. So a warm welcome to Olivia. Come on up and take a seat. Please give her a round of applause. And Avencia Sanchez Meijas is CEO of Integra Therapeutics, and that's a global leader in creating next-generation gene-writing tools for advanced therapies. So also a very specialized sector. Warm welcome to Avencia. Come on up on stage. Hello, Olivia. Yep, sit right here. Yeah, let's be all together. And thanks to both of you for being here. We met on Teams, I guess, a couple of weeks ago, but it's so lovely to see you in person. Start by telling us something about your entrepreneurial journey, sort of a bit of background and the story of really how you got to where you are today. You've been 4 years, I think, with the company, with Integra Therapeutics. So.
Yeah, that's right. And today is the birthday of Integra Therapeutics. We are today.
It's the birthday?
Yeah.
Is it 4 years or 5 years?
4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are
Happy
celebrating.
birthday.
Thanks. And I'm a scientist by training, so now entrepreneur and businesswoman. But before that, I have been a scientist my whole life. Very curious about how disease and health works. And I did biology and spent sometimes doing a PhD in clinical genetics. It was a very exciting time to be helping families with affected children with genetic diseases. We could do some things on diagnosis and prevention of these new cases happening, not the reality of gene therapy that we are starting to see today. So this was 15 years ago. And then I continued with my scientific career. I did 2 postdoctoral stays, one in US and a second one in Singapore. And then I came back to Europe. I was lucky enough to find a very cool position in Barcelona. Still doing science, but my co-founder was coming from Harvard, already participating in the creation of a spin-off from the Harvard University in the gene editing space. So he really wanted to do translational science and researching with taxpayers' money for the most part here in Europe, trying to solve the problems, real problems that society have. And we started this project on doing gene writing in the genome of the patients and to create gene therapy and also cell therapy products, being able to write a full therapeutic message into the genome. And once we have this prototype working, and we were quite excited about this breakthrough in science, we say, okay, now it's the time to really transfer this to society. How do we do that? And we participated in an accelerator program in Spain called Caixa Impulse that allow us to have all the tools to really think what's the best business model for this to see the light of being a product that society can use for therapy. And it was very clear that we needed to incorporate a company and finance at a different level of what you get in institutional research and academic research. And we did so. We started the company. 1 year later, we secured the financing for the early preclinical development. And this is very capital-intensive business, as we have heard before. And I transitioned very naturally from being a scientist to then managing a company that is doing very heavily R&D. So that was more natural, and it has been a very fun process. I learn a lot, and I continue to learn, and I love learning. I made a career out of learning and generating knowledge. So now I'm learning how to manage a company, do the growth and the scale up of the company in a sustainable manner, manage the team.
Okay, so we'll hear a little bit more about your team and the importance of diversity there in just a moment, but let's go over to Olivia because you're celebrating 4 years, but Olivia has, I think, been brought into your company 4 months ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Much younger, sort of a path there of experience with that, but you have quite a story beforehand. So you were brought in to lead this company, I think, from the R&D stage into its next phase. So tell us a little bit about how you got there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So my entrepreneurial journey looks a bit different than yours because as you say, I'm not the founder. So I've been joining different scale-ups and startups to be part of the management team and take these companies to another stage. And most recently now, just a few months ago, I joined Graphmatech as the CEO, and you're completely right, with the mission of taking this company from an R&D stage to a commercialization stage and scaling stage. So that is also where I come from. I worked with one of Europe's largest solar players before, called Svea Solar, and there was part of a journey bringing the company from 350 employees to 1,200 employees, and also a turnover of around 65 million euros to close to 300 million euros. So I've seen that scale up phase, and that is also what we are then foreseeing to do a similar type of journey with Graphmatech. And I started off my career as a strategy consultant, so I'm very much like a generalist, although I'm an engineer in my background and also with some business and economic studies. And this is what I bring into then the scale-ups and the startups that I'm joining, is that I have seen many different businesses at different stages and more from the business perspective rather than the tech perspective. So that is why the founder and the previous CEO, then why he brought in an external CEO is so that he can focus in his CTO role of being working on the product development together with customers, more technical sales and so on, and then I will do a lot of the commercial and investor type of topics.
Thanks for that. Now, perhaps we'll just stay with you, Olivia, because you wanted to reflect on the importance. We spoke about it in the earlier panel and also in some of the earlier talks, but the importance of diversity in teams. And you've had very positive experience with this, also quite broad experience with this. Can you just reflect on that for us and tell us how those kinds of teams, in your experience, have been received?
Yeah, definitely. No, so I had a really good experience with my previous scale-up then, Svea Solar. We had firstly a very diverse management team, like 50% women, 50% male, but also people coming with different backgrounds and at different stages. So bringing in some of the top CMOs, top CHROs, top supply chain officers and so on, and with a lot of experience and working together closely as a team during this scale-up phase. But also more specifically, we were running fundraising processes, several of them, both like bridge processes and really large Series B to bring in private equity, but then also different debt financing processes. And we were a team of 3 people. It was the CEO, it was me as the strategy and Solar as a Service officer, and then also the head of treasury. So the team of us, it was the founder, it was me more from the investor and the business and the strategy side, and the head of treasury having the financing background, been in investment banking and other financing ventures for over 20 years. So, and we were very well received by the investors as well, because we had a diverse team with different backgrounds and different competences. So I think we were very well received and respectful way, and many investors wanted to meet with us, and they were also happy to see that we were doing this as a team effort. So it's not only the CEO running the show or the CFO doing it, it was actually a team effort.
And from our CEO now back to the founder, because you've created the company and are now in the process of actually trying to grow it. How has diversity played a role for you in that process?
Yeah, completely. And we have heard this a lot during the morning and afternoon, that half of the human capital in the world is woman, and we cannot give the back to this talent. We need all the talent. And in Integra, it's a very diverse team with 50% woman, but at all levels except for the board of directors. That this is quite different, but from the management to the senior scientist and the senior positions to then the PhD is 50% at all levels. We also have 20% of LGTB community. So we embrace diversity in all aspects, and I think it's important for the team to also embrace diversity, and seeing the CEO in the hiring processes, they probably is a bias also from the recruiting perspective, because they are comfortable with having a woman managing the team and the company, and then also women can relate more, so they are more prone to say yes to the positions that we offer. So diversity has been key.
I'm interested to know if this is something in your company that just happened organically, or is gender bias actually a topic that was addressed specifically at some point?
I think it was addressed specifically. We also make the decision of having English that it's less gender balanced than Spanish as a vehicle language in the company. Also, for having even broader diversity. So we are a team of 20, and we have 9 nationalities at the company. So really having the talent from everywhere in the globe, and especially in Europe. But we write the positions in a way that is gender balanced. We, even for the more technical positions, data scientists and things that are very male dominated, we make sure that at least 30% of the candidates that we interview are a woman or from other minorities. And this is something that we take seriously and from the very beginning. And I'm in a personal quest to then bring this balance to the board level as well, because I'm the only woman sitting in the board of directors.
Board at the moment. Okay. We had said that we wanted to bring the audience into this discussion. We've talked, obviously, leading up to this talk, about the challenges that women face embarking on an entrepreneurial career, obtaining financing, getting into venture capital, investing. So I threatened earlier that we were going to be using menti.com. I think we have a question that we can throw on the wall, and if you can all just scan the code there, then we'll try to sort of get some responses from what the experiences have been here in the room for our 2 panelists then to kind of reflect upon. What were the biggest challenges so far on your entrepreneurial journey? And that could be the journey you're currently on, or the journey you were on 3 years ago, 5 years ago, your journey to even getting to the stage of even considering a career in entrepreneurship. We're quite flexible there. And let's see if we get some responses on the screen here. Good way to keep everybody awake as well. We should see a word cloud start to appear at some point. Has everybody found? We've left it open, so people, don't write a paragraph, everyone. Give us a few bite-sized words. Oh, it's appearing. Could I have the word cloud possibly on our monitor here, which is why I'm looking here and not realizing that it's actually appearing above our heads. So, lacking network, public funding, courage, finding a co-founder, black, white men. That's an interesting one. Finance, money. Has everybody put their response in? Okay, so we've got lacking a network, public funding, time, courage, something that Monica Likama mentioned was really sort of the basis skill or what is it? Part of your makeup. It needs to be there, and if you don't have it, then cultivate it. Obviously, finding a co-founder, finance, and black-white men. That sounds like a gender and race issue there, possibly in that. What would you reflect upon when you see these challenges that women are experiencing?
I would
Olivia.
love to reflect on the lacking network
Yeah.
comment, and I think it's very much related to women and women-led ventures as well. And because it all starts, at university. So already there you're starting building a network, and maybe even before that. But if just taking as an example of Stockholm, which is a somewhat big city, but it's also not like really, it's somewhere in between. So a lot of the people who study in Stockholm also then stay in Stockholm. So they either start their company there, or they work as an investor there, or whatever it might be. But those are the two most relevant roles. And you can see, I mean, already at the universities, there are often less women than men in those classes. So then you also like, just practically, your network would consist more of men. And maybe still, like some of your closest friends, if you're a woman, maybe some of your closest friends are women. You might have some close male friends as well, of course. But it's still, that is just being nurtured. And we also have a saying that is called bastuklubb, so like a sauna club in Sweden. I mean, it's a thing here in Helsinki as well, I'm quite sure. But it is that men typically meet in other type of activities than women do. And I've been talking about this with women in my network as well, that we can also do different types of trips. It doesn't need to be a sauna, it doesn't need to be a golf trip, and so on, but it can be that we would go for another type of trip, horseback riding or whatever. But that we need to build that type of network as well. And ideally, it would be a diverse network. I mean, 50-50 in that network. But still, I mean, this is impacting a lot of type of opportunities that we are getting within certain ecosystems. So we do need women to be part of VCs and banks and what other type of supporting systems that you need to make sure that we're getting those opportunities. But I see all the time that you're getting help from your network, and we need as many women as men to help out with different things, doing introductions and so on.
Okay, so that the network was obviously very, very heavily male influenced in the early part of your studies, which means that you probably learned methods also of networking that were maybe more typical to those groups. We'll hear something more about that when we actually sort of focus on networking in the next session. That's really interesting, and I love the sauna point. Avencia, what would you sort of reflect upon in this list, or what kinds of things?
Yeah, maybe a little bit on financing and getting access to finance. So as I mentioned, we incubate this idea in the university, and we were very efficient on using capital from different grants that were for the university, but specifically for the translation of this science. And then we closed a seed round of 6 million that for US maybe it's not as impressive, but it was the biggest capital seed round that was closed in Spain in biotech. And it also incorporated a corporate VC from pharma, from Takeda, that was financing from the US. And this was a first also that a corporate funding came to Spain. And I think we have to leverage our bias as women, because we are very capital efficient, and this is a generalization, but I have seen this many times, that when women are leading these projects and these companies, we are much better at managing the capital and really creating value around whatever we get. So sometimes it's bigger rounds, and sometimes they are partially financed by different governments. And here in Europe, we have opportunities both from the European Council, but also from each of the governments. So with these 6 million, we also leverage this, securing an additional 6 million in non-dilutive funding. And really, we have to think around how, with this budget, we are going to really bring value so we can get to the next inflation point and being very sustainable in the way that we scale up the company. So really getting the funding that you need for the next inflation point, and yeah, leverage whatever you can with public funding until you can scale up and then get a bigger round for your company.
One of the things we wanted to achieve, obviously, with this, I called it a panel, but it's really more like a fireside chat, with having the both of you here, is really to sort of inspire the audience as well with the positive aspects of your experiences. And I'm wondering, I mean, you're both coming from such different backgrounds, and you're based in Sweden and you're based in Spain. Two very dynamic startup and sort of seeding environments as we speak. What kinds of things have changed in recent years to allow for more diversity, for women to gain greater access, and for women to actually possibly also deal with some of the, I see the word time up there, with some of the issues that women have been experiencing? Just sort of some words of encouragement of stuff that actually has happened.
Yeah, I think one of the things is women really believing in themselves, and I grow up without many role models in my sector in STEAM, in both at the university level, not very much women giving classes as teachers, and then also in the biotech ecosystem with mainly male-dominated VCs. Very few women doing investment, and also, and this is better, and we have a lot of business that are led by women in Spain, and especially in Barcelona, but still there is a bias. So I think now women are starting to see role models in there, and this will change. Also believing that we deserve the seat at the table, and the board meeting is one of these things, that we need to be there at the decision-making spaces, and we need to believe, and this is the courage, and that we deserve to be there. And I think this is changing, especially with the new generation. So this is positive, and now I have women in my team that really think that they can reach whatever leadership roles that they aspire to. And then the other thing, especially in Spain, and this I became a mother 12 years ago for the first time. And back then, the science was really measured on productivity and the impact of that productivity. And as mothers, we have the maternity gap, and then we got like this increase in how long you can apply for the grants. And this was paired also with the male that didn't have any paternity leave. So it was even increasing the bias even when they tried to solve it. And in Spain now it's mandatory for women and men to take maternity and paternity leaves. And this really make the bias at the hiring process to disappear when you are hiring positions in their reproductive years. Because at Integra we have had more paternity leaves than maternity leaves. So I think this for the hiring managers makes a huge difference on how we approach the hiring process and the gender bias there, because there is really non-difference in time. And I think this is also helping in not propagating these biases.
A really interesting and important policy decision that is actually bearing fruit. That's very, very good to hear. Olivia.
Yeah, I fully agree on your reflections, and we have a similar structure in Sweden. But one good movement that I am seeing is that it's really going hand in hand, the women-led investor engagement and the women-led startup engagement and kicking off new ventures, that you can see that the activity is, nurturing each other. And for example, we have great networks for women angel investors in Sweden, and you can see how they are coming together and making joint investments in companies and in women that they believe in. And we also have investment firms with all women teams, etc. And then, might not be ideal because you should, of course, have a diverse team, but still it could be spark some ideas. It could also show that it's possible. Same thing with investing in women-only or women founder startups. Like, it shouldn't need to be a rule for an investor, but at the same time, doing that for a while can prove that this is it's working. It's it's as good or even better as only male-led companies or diverse companies, and just seeing those activities happen from all angles. And then, as you say, having also the rest of, the team joining because it's women-led company and so on, that is also a fantastic force that is happening. So I had several of my team members at my previous company join because they wanted to work with a woman as their manager, and that is a great force. And that was not only women joining. I had several men who joined because they wanted to have a woman as their manager. So a lot of good movement happening for sure.
Laura mentioned obviously the challenging nature of the markets, and I mentioned earlier that sort of bumper year for Finnish capital that was secured in 2022, and after that, of course, there was quite a dip back down. So those markets have really seen some challenges, obviously in the deep tech sector, as we know, and with the current political situation. Those conditions don't look to be getting any easier for the next little while. Perhaps you could just elaborate a little bit on your respective visions for the evolution of the entrepreneurial landscape to better support, obviously, diversity and inclusion, and what changes would you yet like to see?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I think the space and the ecosystem is changing a bit, and now really we have to drive the growth on data and really demonstrating the value on the assets that we have. We also have to think in the business strategy how to monetize as early as possible the assets that we have, so the growth of the company can be sustained and not depend only on venture capital, investing in equity in the company. So I think this will be a big part on business development being a part of how the company grows, and not just doing equity rounds to then delay this monetizing of the platform. And really this has to be driven by value within the company, and the ecosystem is getting tougher. But I see lots of opportunities for this business also to drive on the diversity, and more opportunities for really investing in these diverse businesses.
Businesses and business cultures. Olivia.
Yeah, I would definitely like to see that, I mean, Europe is coming even tighter together and investing in Europe as a continent, and not being too focused on like separate industries or separate countries, etc. That we're actually investing in Europe as a whole, because that is what we will see now in the US, for example. We're seeing a lot of capital from Middle East approaching European companies. So we really need to step up and making sure that we are doing the investments for Europe and keeping also companies in Europe, because otherwise there is a risk that we would leave the continent because the money is somewhere else. And I would like to see that it's becoming less bureaucratic or less processy, because a lot of the grants or support that you can get from the government today to not only focus on VC money but also bring in some non-dilutive funding, a lot of that is eaten up by process. You need to pay consultants, etc. So actually having some more, faster and more efficient funding, I think that's key. And then, of course, making sure to spend those at companies that are having a positive impact, both with their actual business, but then also in terms of diversity and so on. So, yeah, high requirements, but I also really think that we need to do that.
Absolutely, and very realistic, given the sort of the geopolitical shift of power and probably of capital that we're going to be seeing. That's very wise words. We've got a room full of people who are headed off to Slush. You're probably headed off to Slush, both of you. Everybody's heading off there in the next couple of days. A very, very exciting atmosphere at that event every year. Your advice for the people in the room who might be there for the first time, or even if they're not.
Oh, and I'm actually going for the first time as well. So I cannot talk from experience. However, I can share a bit on how I have prepared. So I've been working with our investors. So we have green tech and deep tech investors, and just asking them what network they have here in Helsinki, and also other people in their network that are coming here that they think that we should take the chance to meet with. So for example, Helsinki is the deep tech mecca of Europe, so definitely meeting up with some deep tech investors. And then also I got the recommendation to sign up for many different side events, and I mean it's still possible to do that. So that is also a recommendation that you should do, because that could be easier to find other participants and attendees that have the same type of focus as you do.
Which leads to a lot more networking. Advencia, what are your words of advice before we close this?
Yeah, I haven't been in a Slush either, but maybe I will give a more general idea.
Also first time at Slush?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So maybe more general idea on what has worked with me, and really being an entrepreneur and managing a company, it's very stressful, and we have heard how mental health is important. So just have fun, because having fun is very important in this journey, and take care of yourself, because without that, then you cannot take care of the business and of the people in your team. So really take all the opportunities that may bring these next few days. Have fun, because that's also important to be a good manager, and you never know what the networking will bring. So I have the same experience, that asking for help and advice, and we have had very good and generous mentors. So really approach people and connect with them, and you never know what that can bring.
What is going to happen. Thank you very much for being with us and for sharing your stories, Olivia Nestios and Advencia Sanchez-Meitas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we heard lots and lots about the importance of networks. And one of the things that we promised you, obviously, with this event was the ability and possibility to grow yours. We have lots of opportunities, obviously, during the day. The next one is coming right up. And even if you think that you're good at it, or if we think that networking, in a situation like this is something that comes naturally, it doesn't for everyone. And even if you are good at it, there are ways to do it better. Sascha Wolf is an expert on impact and sustainable networking and cross-sectoral collaboration. He's got a career that spans 30 years, from Berlin's subculture club scene via the diplomatic world to the nonprofit sector, which he is now very, very actively pushing ahead. He's head of the Global Impact Capital Alliance, or GICA for short, and he concentrates now on basically coaching and training impact startups and teaching people how to connect globally. So, believe it or not, you can get better at what you already do quite well, I'm sure. Please welcome Sascha Wolf.
Dankeschön, Karen.
You're welcome.
Okay, but now that applause was a bit lame, which is okay, of course normal because you don't know what I'm talking about. But Karen does the job the whole day, so she deserves a better applause than this now. I mean, you know how much work that is? I mean, asking all these questions with all these people. By the way, if I were you, if I hear the word networking once more, I'd throw up. Because I list like the whole day, it's about networking, and you're just waiting to get out to get some food, right? And now this guy comes and, and another 10 minutes. I'm going to try to make it short. Okay, so do you know who said that? A guy. Antonio Guterres, he said that. And he runs around, he says that very often, but nobody understands what he's really saying because nobody knows what exactly the power of networks is. And we all hear that networks are power, but we don't know what the fuck that is. But it's getting the best Congress experience out of Slush or out of this event. And I'm going to take the next 10 minutes to try to get the knowledge I have into your heads so that you can get the food outside in your stomachs soon, okay? So let's see what good networking is all about. Let's get to work. Now, please, I know you can do this. Let's just try another mentee. I have 3 mentees, I think, and this is just to let you not fall asleep while I'm talking, so you have to do something. If this is okay, I'm going to go to the next slide. Yes, yes. Everybody ready? Good. Now, what is the most important thing for people at congresses like this here or at Slush? You can do a ranking, and we'll see the top 5 of the things that happen at congresses. We left out the party because it became too long, the list. But I know that party is one of the most important things, but it's also networking. So let's just see. Well, I assumed that you would say that. But only 6 people participated at this, 17, 18, I think it's 100 people in the room, right? 97 participants last time, so it's valid with 45 people. It's like the US elections. If you have over 50%, you won. So let's see, it's 32 people, but I don't think that anything will change here. So that means that you say that in the ranking of Slush, you don't care about the info stands. So people are investing a lot of money and you don't just care because you just come to make connections. Imagine that. And now let's go to the qualitative question. How important is that? If you go to an event, to a business event like this one here or Slush, is it okay to meet new people, or is that the reason why you go there? Is that the most important thing that you want to have? How important is that? We have a race between absolutely essential and very important, but I see that very important is going down, and absolutely essential is going to the top like a Taylor Swift song. So it's 25 with 50 people participating. Okay, so let's take this as the fact. If we are a company doing an event like, let's say, Slush, or a big corporation like saying whatever, BMW, and they do an event, they should say, okay, the people come because they want to make connections, so we will invest in connecting people. Now let's ask you, at the business events that you have participated so far, how often has it happened that the host came up and said, hey, nice that you're here. You have to meet that person. Please come over. I want to introduce you to that person. How often were you invited into circles? You know that situation? You come to an event, 5 people are standing there. They're opening up the circle, say, hey, Karen, nice that you're here. Come into the group. Please join the talk. How often that has happened? Was there a connections team, like people roaming around and connecting people and making everybody feel welcome and happy? And was there a culture of connectivity, whatever that is? So you go to business events and you feel like, you know, it's like I have to talk to people because people are talking to each other and everybody's smiling at each other. It's like in a Berlin club, only they take drugs to get that result. Have you ever had a business event where people were just smiling at each other so that you feel at home? Now, as expected, the numbers range between 2.3 and 4.1, which is not exactly great. So you want to tell me that the main reason you go to business events and congresses is to be connected, and the main thing that business events do is to fuck that up? That's what you want to tell me. We did a research with 100 business events of big corporations and asked them how much they invested in connections, in the main thing that you want, right? Guess, what was the result? What was the percentage of money, or let's put it a different way, what are companies and organizations put the money in? What are they investing in if they have events like these here? No, it's not people. It's, well, food is on the 4th place, I think. I'm sorry for that, I don't know how it's today, but it's tech, you know, tech, stage, keynote speakers, decoration, all that stuff. Money, big budgets. Then comes food and so on, the band and whatever. Connection, to connect people, 0 budget. There are hardly any events that invest any energy in connecting people. So that's a crazy thing. And now, that's the result. By the way, Peggy does all this graphic designing live. Thanks for Peggy. Thanks for doing that. Well, that's a bit, I mean, you don't want to do that job. Let's try that again. This is Peggy doing all the design here. Thanks. Okay, I can live with that because you're hungry, but that's the only reason, okay? Now, that's your situation. You struggle alone. You roam around like an ant collecting stuff, you know? Now, what's with festivals? If you go to party festivals, private parties of friends and so on, let's do the same check. You go to a friend and how do you feel? How often did the host connect you if you have private parties or music festivals like Burning Man or Berlin clubs or whatever? That's a different result. These are the Berliners in the room, I guess, right? How often were you invited into circles of people? Were there co-hosts like other people? The host is busy on the couch, you know, talking, somebody else comes up to you and draws you into circles. Now, we don't even have to wait. It's like that. That's reality. We're living in a completely strange world where business events with huge budgets don't connect people, although you go there to get connected. And private parties with no budgets give the results of what you expect at business events. That's strange, isn't it? And this is not your opinion. This is facts. Now, what does that have to do with you? Well, who's responsible for this strange situation? And because I knew that it's a large room and we cannot do this interactive game by people talking to me because you're too shy, I just wrote it, okay? It's the host, to make it easy for you. The host is responsible. So most companies are just afraid to seem to be unprofessional because, you know, they don't want to generate a private party vibe because the boss could say, what's this here, you know? Why the couch on the stage? So businesses don't do that. By the way, Slush is a great exception. Slush feels like a private festival. And they have connection teams. They have volunteers, you know, talking to you. Slush is a great exception to the rule. Slush does it differently. Now, good hosts, and this is science, this is not opinion. Good hosts create a culture where people connect to support each other by sharing their resources and information. And this is your secret edge. Because if you want to get most out of an event, even if you're just a guest, you can get out of an event a lot more if you behave as a host. Because the host doesn't do the job. And that's the secret sauce that you can use today and tomorrow. And no, this is not the end. It's about creating a sharing culture. It's about building hunting groups. It's about not running around and asking people for money or connections or whatever, because you would not do that if you were the host of the event, right? The host doesn't run around and ask the guests for money. Well, if you do that, but you leave the party, right? So a good host would never run around and ask for themselves, but for the others. That's what good hosts do. So a good business congress is a business congress with a party vibe. A bit like Slush, only Slush lacks the music. They have music Thursday evening, I guess, but it could be even better if there was music, but the vibe is similar. It's about generating good connections for everyone. Now, what does that have to do with you? Well, easy. Just try, for the fun of it. You can do it today because this is a safe space here. You can try to behave as a co-host. Just try to act as a co-host. Now, you might ask me, what's the difference? What's the difference of a co-host towards a guest? Well, kind of easy. Oh, by that was advertising. I planned to erase it. I forgot that. We're building a group, a worldwide group of impact startups and impact investors. And we say, don't go pitching if you're an impact startup, but help the investors to feel like guests. Help the investors to feel human, to feel invited, to feel accepted, and not just like the cow you want the milk to get the milk out. Because if you behave as a co-host in a network, everybody will feel well, and then everybody will open up. So stop running around and searching for money or whatever you're searching for. Stop that, because it's all there. Let's just test that, and then we are close. Then you can go and have some food. What are you looking for? And put in names, please. Out there we have a board that says what special business skill you're looking for, but let's make it easy. Names. Are there any people you want to get connections to in the next days or months? The CEO of, the investment manager of, whatever. Could you please do that little task and put names in here of people and the company, because it makes it easier. Just partners is very, I mean, private partners for living together, or business partners, or do you want, that's not specific. App developers, well, okay. Great mobility startups, investors, CEO of Chari. That's a concrete. Startups, I mean, yes, we can help you here if you're looking for startups. Well, let's take Inga Grieger. I don't know who Inga Grieger is. Inga, right, Inga. She was. That's an easy one. Who wanted to meet Inga Grieger? Yeah, she would like to meet you. Could you please talk to her later? Okay. Now, let's make this. This is just an example. I want to prove that in this room of 100 people, 50 to 80% of all your searches are included, and you're running around like a drug addict looking for the next shot, although the solution is right next to you. And the only problem that you have is that you don't behave as a co-host, as an investor, as some human, decent person, but that you run around with this here, being afraid of not having enough, having your agenda. If you'd like to change that, let's try. Amazing green tech startups. Who knows amazing green tech startups? Could you please raise your hand? Well, of course. We have 6 people in the room. Neuroscience and education. Let's take neuroscience. People from neuroscience. Who knows people? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's make it easier. Who knows somebody working at NASA? We need somebody from NASA. 1, 2, 3 people. No. We need somebody at Tesla, managing Tesla or whatever. Some high-ranking person at Tesla. We have one here. Whatever you want, it's in this room. So what's the strategy to get things out of the group? To get something for you? Easy way. If you want to get something out, you have to invest. Very easy thing. Every investor knows that. So if you want to succeed today and at Slush and in your life with whatever you're doing, change your mindset. You're not a guest. You're a co-host. Make the party like those 2 meters around you. That's your party place. Wherever you go, the party's with you. Give it a private party vibe. We've experienced this at this table this morning. There was this guy, George, he just left. He's from Ghana, and he's great because he stood there and he collected everybody, just bringing these people to the table. Random people, but it was like a small party. It was a great feeling. It was a party vibe. Care for others. But I'm going to mention that. Share and support and connect others. Easy, right? Easy understood. Now, we have to address one problem. And it was, oh, I'm late, right? I'm running over time. Okay, fuck it. Let's just, before we go to this here, there is this female problem. We had this caring thing, you know, that I think Inga even said that. No, Christina said that, right? That you said women have some abilities and so that they could use connecting, caring, and so on, those social skills. Yes, that's true. Girls are being brought up to be more social than guys, less competitive, more collaborative. That's good if you want to network, but don't overcare. And here we go to the other part. These are the people who just ask. We had this conversation outside. There are a few running around and just throwing their business cards around saying, I need investment. This is also not good. The middle way is key. Try to invest in others, connect in others, but not just because you want to make them love you, but you want to generate something. You want to generate a revolution, an impact revolution. So these people have to work with you. So help them to help you. It's the balance between helping others and connecting others and asking them to help you. And if you do that, I can guarantee you 100 people running around at Slush, being a coordinated hunting or whatever group you call yourselves, can make a difference at the whole festival. If you're looking for somebody at Slush, ask the people here to help you find that person and ask them how you can help them. By the way, you remember it said the 5 top strategies, how to be a better networker? We don't have the time for this, so I cheat a little bit. Just when you go outside and fetch lunch, just do a little game, try to build groups of at least 5 people. Don't stand around alone. Don't let anybody stand alone. And don't talk just with another person. If you're 2 people, try to get 3 others. Just try what happens with the energy in the room. If you don't like it, then just go in your corner alone if you want. But please try that. What happens is a group of 100 people connects in groups of at least 5. And if you do that at Slush, I guarantee you, you'll get more out for yourself, for the others in the room, and we can make that planet a better place, a fair place, and we can get humanity, a future, which at the moment I don't believe we have. So it's you doing the change. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much to Sascha Vols. And on that note, let's turn this into a party, people. The food is out there. We'll see you back here at 1500. We've gone a little bit over time, so we'll probably just kind of be getting towards 10 after 3. But go have a good lunchtime and put those tips into practice. See you then. Bye. Welcome back, everyone. I see we still have some stragglers here. So hope everybody managed to get some much needed calories, as well as some great conversation in groups of 5. I hope everybody followed some instructions and maybe even noticed that they talked to a few more people than they would normally. I'm just going to keep rolling here so that we can get all the people out in the hall back into the room, because we have some exciting stuff still coming up. Just a note for those of you who aren't that familiar with the EIT community, you heard a lot of talk about access to funding, things like mentorship, role models, early stage support, networking. These are all things that the EIT community can support you on. So hopefully by the end of today, you'll have had a good introduction to some of the people that you could possibly approach to make inroads into those areas. And to kick off this next session, is everybody awake? Is everybody digesting and tired, or is everybody awake? Would we like to get up and do a stretch? The after lunch session is always, it's like the red eye on day 2. First session on day 2 of the conference, and everybody's crawling in from the party last night, and the poor person who has to present, you just think, oh my goodness, we have to wake everyone up. So let's everybody stand up and put their arms in the air. Reach, high. And the next thing I want everybody to do is do a forced smile. Smile with all your might. Get the corners of those mouths up. And the reason I'm asking you to do this is because these 2 things, putting your arms up in the air and standing there for a while and bringing the corners of your mouth up, absolutely take away any of your body's tendencies to want to go towards negative feelings. It's a trick. There you go. So everybody's awake, and to kick off this session, we have another speaker who's lined up to share her experiences. We've called this session Redefining Venture Capital with Bold Ideas. We talk a lot about big and bold ideas, but what do they mean exactly? Pauliina Martikainen is a partner at Maki.vc. That's a VC firm here in Finland committed to supporting audacious founding teams with unconventional ideas. And I asked her about that just now, and she says, actually, it's really broad. So let's welcome her on stage so we can have a little chat before we move on to our pitch sessions. Pauliina Martikainen. Expecting number 2 in January. And
very much.
Looking all the better for it. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you
It's
for
so
having
wonderful
me.
to have you here. Yeah. You have a very varied career yourself. You're now involved in a VC role, but you actually were a founder once yourself. And if I recall properly, you worked in marketing and comms and had a sort of a bit of a roundabout way. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey into venture capital, and then we'll get to the mission behind Maki VC.
Yes, happy to share. So my story within venture capital started out at a quite young age. So I think I was like 23, 8 years back, and I was actually still in university, and I was studying full time, but then also actually working full time for as a communications consultant at the PR agency, but then also supporting the marketing team at Slush, which is a conference obviously held at the same time in Helsinki now. And I got to know some smart people behind Slush, and one of them had an idea of a student-led venture capital fund that he had seen in the States, but there were back then none in the Nordics. And so I then joined that idea as one of the co-founders, and we raised a pre-seed venture capital fund called Wave Ventures, and there were some really cool investors that invested in that fund, including the likes of Niklas Stenström, a founder of Skype and the founder of a VC firm called Atomico, and Ilkka Paananen, the founder of Supercell, a unicorn gaming company, and so forth. And one of those people investing in that fund was actually also a founding partner of Maki VC that I'm currently a partner at. And when I was then graduating, he lured me into Maki's team. That was 5.5 years back or so, and definitely been a fun ride since. Maki was founded. I joined the fund when the first fund was 1 year in, and I've been kind of like very fortunate in the sense that I joined it when I was super young, but then I've been able to and have had the chance to really kind of build the firm as well and grow within the firm, and it's been amazing. Maki, we just announced our third fund of 100 million euros, and we still continue to do exactly what we've been doing since the beginning, which is supporting the very, very early stage founders. So we do what we call pre-seed and seed.
Very early, okay.
Investing, writing checks in terms of initial checks up to 3 million euros. We love to be the first investor there. We invest in what we call deep tech and brand-driven companies, and pretty broadly across different verticals. And home base is Helsinki. We mostly spend our time in the Nordic markets, but we do have an open mandate, so technically can invest anywhere. And maybe the last thing to mention on Maki, definitely, we have a very entrepreneurial DNA in the fund, so all of us partners have founded something of our own.
So that experience is there, and you know exactly what kind of challenges funding seekers are going to be dealing with.
Exactly, and two of the founding partners have been scaling tech companies through IPOs and acquisitions themselves, and also our LP base, so the limited partners, so the people whose money we manage. We also have been trying to make that base as entrepreneurial as possible. So we actually have over 50 LPs also now in the latest fund, who are some of the most accomplished entrepreneurs in the region, from the likes of Skype and Supercell and Relax and Ivan and Wise and so forth. And we try and leverage those people also for the good of the portfolio.
Okay, fantastic. Before I go to my next question, I want to just ask, because obviously Slush is such an institution, it's really got such an incredible ecosystem, also the team behind it, that, I mean, it's actually an NGO, right? It's a non-profit. What is it about the Nordics that has made this area such a hot environment for startup culture? What's it got going for it?
I think Nordics is also 5 different countries, so I think within this ecosystem there are many different strong suits per each country. So for instance in Finland, I think we've been super strong in what we call deep tech, and we continue to be there. So there is a lot of innovation
an incredible digital economy,
yeah,
obviously, which is a big head start on some of the other countries in Europe, perhaps.
Research originated very strong companies coming from Finland, but also from some of the other Nordic countries. So the Nordics is actually amongst, I think 4 of the Nordic countries are amongst top 10 in terms of, in Europe, in terms of number of deep tech companies founded here, for instance, and then obviously the kind of broader ecosystem is supporting as well in terms of governments kind of trying to be supportive of the startup ecosystem.
Very strategic investment on the part of governments here.
And I think particularly in Finland, I think Slush has played a massive role, obviously.
It's really snowballed the entire ecosystem, hasn't it?
Yeah, in terms of funding and but also in terms of talent. So there is 2,000 people, the volunteers who go through that kind of educational platform, if you will, each fall when they are trying to or helping to set up the event, and that's we see a lot of super young founders who have some sort of a connection to Slush, who got inspired there or made some first connections and so forth, then later down the stream actually founding their own companies, which is extremely valuable.
Of those networks. I want to get to a bit more about Maki itself, but we've talked an awful lot about the importance of diversity in venture capital funds and in the VC space. What concrete actions have you taken at Maki to build a more inclusive culture, or was it already there when you joined them 5 years ago?
As I said, I joined very early on, so I think the culture has been forming and has been shaped throughout the years then.
And you've been an active part of that?
Yeah, of course. I think everyone who's in the team obviously contributes to the culture. Maybe I'll actually start with the numbers. I think looking at our current portfolio and setup. So out of all of our existing portfolio, 33% of the portfolio companies have at least one female co-founder in the team. 64% out of our full-time team at Maki are female. 64% actually also of we run a regular intern program, have also been female. On average, each of our portfolio companies have 9 different nationalities. So like overall, I'd say we're like definitely above the industry average, at least when it comes to gender diversity. And some of the things that we've done from the beginning, I think some of those things relate to our own team and how we've built that. Some of the things relate to our deal flow, so how we try and attract companies to seek for funding from us, but then also how we evaluate the cases, and then obviously the last bit is then how we work with the portfolio companies in kind of supporting them in building inclusive cultures. And if we start from our own team, as said, so we've tried to, or kind of from the beginning, the culture has been so that we've seen the importance of that we want to in-house actually mentor and coach and spar people and kind of like rather almost like grow talent in-house than just always kind of trying to take a new one from the outside. And that's been quite evident in terms of, for instance, internal partner promotions, which are not self-evident in the industry. And we also, for instance, have the trainee program. We always have one trainee with us. And that's not happening at all of the VC firms either, but we've kind of wanted to give a chance to this young, diverse, dynamic talent to come and join a VC firm for a bit, see that, and kind of just have access to this ecosystem and maybe build connections that they can later on utilize either by staying in VC or then founding their own startups or going and working for a startup. So that's on our own team.
The emphasis was on, these audacious ideas, bold ideas. What qualities do you look for in founders to sort of be looking for really, really disruptive potential in a startup?
I think first of all, we want to see the best founders, obviously. So kind of still on the inclusive or diverse and inclusive bit. We've tried to build our brand a bit differently from the get-go. So instead of
you evaluate them differently.
Okay. No, I think, so this is kind of like in terms of just seeing as diverse deal flow as possible. Mm-hmm. Not only, the male founders, for instance, but actually a broader set of founders seeking funding from us. So we've actually, from the get-go, we designed our brand in a way that it's not like dark colors and certain language that's like very difficult and cryptic for someone coming from outside of the startup ecosystem to read, but we actually have like bright colors on our website, very kind of easy to approach language and so forth. So we want to see everything. Then in terms of what we look for, when then assessing this deal flow that comes to us, we try and obviously or prefer seeing balanced founding teams, let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. That means we invest so early that at least we would like to see that there's some sort of technological know-how in the team, but then also the commercial know-how, not just the other one of these aspects. So balanced founding teams. Then we obviously evaluate like, okay, if you're going to build this huge super kind of a groundbreaking category redefining thing, what is your edge as a team in terms of building that? Like, why would you, out of everyone, be able to succeed in that? So that's another one that we really emphasize. And again, we invest so early that then maybe a third thing, I really overemphasize the team here, but the team's thinking is super important as well. We invest so early that there isn't necessarily anything built yet. Okay. So we could invest as early as when there's a team and a slide deck and a doc. And at that point, it's more like we want you to demonstrate in-depth thinking in terms of, even though you haven't built the thing yet,
you have a clear vision. And you can articulate clearly what's your plan in terms of building that thing. So really, again, evaluating the team very much. That's interesting. It sounds like a super interesting process. What advice do you have? We have 7 wonderful women who are going to be pitching their startups here just now when we're finished. And what advice do you have for them and for the people in the audience actually hoping to capture an investor's attention and possibly sort of, stand out at Slush, for instance? So I think the purpose of the pitching here or at Slush, it's just to grab the attention, right? And there you just want to be crystal clear, to the point, be energized and inspired yourself by what you're building, and that will then kind of grab the attention of the others. Then otherwise, in terms of running your fundraise process, again, like the pitching is just like to grab the attention and to get to the more detailed discussions. So I think it's more of a matter of like, what do you do then later on when you get to those discussions? And there you just want to be extremely well prepared, have your materials ready, know who to talk to, so kind of make a list of investors that you think could be relevant for you. Then what you want to think about in advance is momentum in your fundraise. So plan the timing of your fundraise process, because it typically takes weeks, if not months. So plan it in a way that you can showcase some progress on the commercial front or technological front during that time and really wow the investors in terms of
the speed of the progress that you're making, and what else? Maybe just go out with the right number. So really plan what's the amount of money that you're gonna need to raise, and actually rather start with a smaller number. If there's investor in interest, you can always kind of gradually grow that round size, but it's trickier to go the other way around, go out with a big raise and then, or big ask, and then a few weeks later come back and say, hey, we failed with that, but this is another plan now. That kind of eats up your credibility. So those are some tips.
Thank you very much for those tips and for being here to inspire our audience with some of your learnings. And you're one of the youngest female VC partners. What would sort of your two-word mantra be for the women in the audience? What powers you through on the tough days? And I'm sure there are a few, even though it's an exciting field.
I think this was more for the, I think there are some investors in the audience as well,
Yes,
or maybe some of
indeed.
the younger investors. I think you just want to speak up. I think part of getting ahead in a venture firm is not only being able to source the best deals, but also being the supportive partner for the portfolio companies. And there you just, I think most start as a shadow to someone more senior, kind of shadowing someone at the board meetings or at update calls or whatnot. And the quicker you realize that you actually, no one knows it all, and you are just asking as smart questions as anyone else in the room, and the quicker you start to speak up and share your perspectives, the quicker you get ahead. Otherwise, your colleague will speak up and will get ahead.
So tips for aspiring entrepreneurs and tips also for the investment side, which, as we know, is absolutely crucial to achieve that snowballing effect that we're after. Thank you very much for being with us here.
Thank you.
And providing us with those insights. Pauliina Martikainen.
Thank you.
And best of luck in January.
Thank you.
So that means that the moment we have all been, or many of us anyway, have been waiting for, has arrived, because it's time for our pitching session. And absolutely, let's hear lots and lots of energy and support from the room for the women who are about to take the stage here. And I want to tell to all of our pitchers here, the stage is your oyster. I'm going to move over to the far end of this table, and you can feel free to use whichever piece of support you would like. We are going to spotlight 7 startups, as I think I mentioned, the number 7. These are all EIT-supported startups from across the entire spectrum of KICS. So what's really important to know here is that they are currently raising funds, seeking investors very actively, and so this is definitely the real deal. So we definitely want to hear your support and encouragement. Each founder has 3 minutes to present, and I will call them up one by one, give them each a little introduction, and feel free to give them a round of applause when they get up here. We are going to start with, first one to take the stage, Vlada Musvidaite of Walk 15. She's the founder and CEO of the Vilnius, Berlin-based global sustainable initiative platform Walk 15. Many of you may have downloaded the app. She's also a journalist and a former track athlete, very much like Pauliina, in fact. Together with her team, she has impacted over 1,500 companies and 1 million app users worldwide. That's the Walk 15 app, helping them to improve their mobility habits and create a positive environmental impact. So give her a warm round of applause. Vlada Musvidaite, the floor is yours.
Hi, I believe that everyone can be an Olympian, because you should not be an athlete as I was, because you should to start from your first step, because not only for your health, but for our planet, because active mobility can be our future. And I am a founder and CEO of Walk 15, and this is a sustainable initiative platform which has 1 million app users, 1,500 B2B clients, and it is a worldwide platform. And of course, my presentation, it's in amazing language, it's everything, it's okay. 2019, we built a company in Vilnius, then we moved to Germany, and then we built a company in the US. And the problem, you don't look on that. The problem what we solve, it is that we help of companies to find really good tool which can engage the employees and their target audience to the healthiness and sustainability topics. It's mean that it is an app, it is a tool which can help for you. It is in 33 different languages. You can easily download as B2C, but for B2B, it will be not for free. It is our business model. And actually in a tool, we have three functionality: challenges, step wallet, and tracks. And this is a problem that we solve for example, HR person, or sustainability manager of EuroLeague, or our president of Lithuania, that it's not easy to find a tool which can help to invite your target audience to the one tool. You can just scan a QR code and join with your target audience. And a step wallet works like that because you can redeem your steps and, for example, buy some sustainable and active solution just in supermarket, or just to take a car with as electric car, like a sharing. And our business model, it is that B2B bring for us not only revenue, because they pay €6 per person in a month, but they bring our users too. And we have 1 million users already. And our client, this EuroLeague, like a basketball league, our clients could be like NBA, because 2 weeks ago we got invitation from NBA to engage basketball fans and basketball clubs more to work, and we collaborate with UEFA, and we have a lot of clients. And actually what we solve, what is the problem, what we solve, that for today we're looking of the raising of Series A, and I'm very happy that we have one investor which will invest into this round. Thank you so much. I don't know what happened with this slide. in what is language? In sustainable language, maybe, yeah.
We'll maybe figure that out.
I don't know. But you know, a founder should every time be ready.
Exactly.
Oh.
Thank you very much, Vlada Musvita. She's supported by the EIT Urban Mobility, and thank you very much for giving a dynamite presentation, despite the fact that we have very, very alien language made it in there. Who knows?
I don't know.
We understood you, that's the point. Thank you very much. Okay. Big round of, oh, give me the clicker. That for our next pictures. Thanks so much to Vlada. And my daughter, by the way, just last evening, and she was actually quite excited about it, so I'll keep you posted. Charlotte Stiegen-Lastberg, founder of DigiClean Solutions AB, is our next one to take the stage. After years of experience as a chemical provider to the metalworking industry, Charlotte decided that there was something wrong with the traditional business model that prioritized just selling increasing amounts, increasing quantities of chemicals. So she identified an opportunity to revolutionize the industry by focusing on optimizing chemical usage, positioning itself as a catalyst for transforming the business model of the actual chemical suppliers. So Charlotte, wherever you are, please come on up and take the stage and tell us more. Where is Charlotte? Are we missing our pitch artist? Oh my goodness. Okay. She was number 2. I'll go to number 3.
Yes. We have to click through the presentation. I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay.
That's so that's her. Just click through.
Just here. At least it's all in English. So hopefully we will catch up with Charlotte at some point. Thanks for listening. There we go. So on the next one. Okay, all right. So let's move on to number 3 then, because basically we can turn our gaze to the stars. Space crop technologies is the next pitch, because space is revolutionizing the way that we farm. And by unlocking the power of satellite data and AI to bring a new level of precision to agriculture, space crop can offer insights on soil health, things like crop conditions and water availability, all delivered from outer space. And Mary Grace Gasco is the CEO of Space Crop Technologies, and I would ask you to put your hands together. Take it away, Mary Grace, with your pitch. There she is. Clicker for you.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm really excited to be here. Okay. Oops. Just a moment.
Hit the arrow on the right. There we are.
All right. So I'm Mary, and Space Crop helps farms manage irrigation and crop health systems with weather forecasts using satellite data and artificial intelligence. This is Ricardo Ferri, who was devastated with his dried wheat field in Alcoy from Valencia, Spain. He lost his crops and income for the first time because of drought. Although in the recent past weeks, we saw huge floods in Valencia, and this one happened last year. So it really shows extreme weather events. We believe that there are more Ricardos in Europe and around the world who have similar experiences or worse due to extreme weather events. So how can we help the people like Ricardo adapt to the impacts of climate change? Our team sends SMS alert to the farmer on the soil moisture status in the field, and the farmer can visualize anytime, anywhere, the soil moisture level, and checks the weather forecast in the next 14 to 30 days. So this helps the farmers plan ahead his or her time in the farm. We have monitored several farms that grow different types of crops, such as fruits and vegetables. Our validation results from 2017 to 2023 satellite data that we have gathered show that our models can be implemented in any type of crop, soil, environments, and climates. And when Space Crop's model is integrated with precision irrigation system, then we can reduce 30 to 40% less water and energy consumption, which optimizes crop productivity in the farm up to 50%, which brings more revenues for the farmer. Space Crop is selling API integrations with B2B enterprises, and is also developing custom-built SaaS solutions for farming co-ops, insurance companies, and government agencies. Space Crop is currently servicing at least 1,700 farms across Southeast Asia alone, with a projected CO2 reduction emissions of 34,000 tons every year. And in the future, we wanted to reach 1 million farms to reduce CO2 emissions up to 20 million tons annually. So in the next, in 36 months, we want to achieve at least 500,000 annual revenues and reach our, scale up our enterprise operations in our target markets. We want to hire very talented people and develop exciting products for the farmers. So I wanted to share with you our recent, fieldwork activities in Southeast Asia. The guys wearing in white shirt on my right side are our field technicians, and on the left side are the cacao farmers. As you can see in the background, the cacao fruits are covered with plastics, right? Because they need to be protected with fungal diseases propagation because of high soil moisture levels and precipitation levels in that region. So they're very happy that Space Crop came to them to help them manage their soil health and also their challenges in the farm. So I am glad to take your questions after my pitch. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much to Mary Grace, fantastic project. And Mary Grace, of course, supported by the EIT Climate Kick, just so that you're all aware of just how broad the pillars of the EIT community go. And the number of kicks, there are 9 at the moment. Charlotte Stegen-Lasberg, who was unable to join us for whatever reason, is supported by EIT Manufacturing, that just as an aside, so that you're well aware of the breadth of everything. Our 4th pitch, which is actually only our 3rd here today. Christina Villarmau is the innovation manager at Mimark Diagnostics. Mimark has a bold vision of developing a new method of gynecological diagnosis. So using gynecological fluid as the next liquid biopsy, they can develop accurate and accessible diagnostics, creating better health outcomes for women, less invasive, obviously. And we would invite Christina Villarmau onto the stage. The floor is yours, Christina, and tell us some more.
How much pain we women need to suffer to change this. This woman is having a hysteroscopy. It is invasive. It is brutal. 35 million postmenopausal women worldwide suffer abnormal bleeding every single year. And this is the triggering event to start the diagnosis of endometrial cancer. In high-income countries, this is the most common gynecological cancer. Luckily, only 5% of these symptomatic women will end up with a positive diagnosis. But this, in fact, means that so many women undergo every year painful and costly procedures unnecessarily. And this is why diagnostic today is complicated. A minimal invasive sample is taken from the uterus. This sample has 2 parts, the cells and the fluid. The cells are used today for diagnosis by checking if there are actually tumoral cells in the sample. But in 1 out of 3 cases, the sample contains no cells. And no cells means no diagnosis. And no diagnosis means that the hysteroscopy will be needed, the painful procedure you all saw before. So diagnostic today fails because cells are not always available. But do you remember the other part of the sample? Do you remember the fluid? The fluid, it's always there. And in Mimark, we're using gynecological fluid to transform diagnostics for the better. And we will prove this first with WOMEC, the future of endometrial cancer diagnosis. With WOMEC, we will change the paradigm, moving from cells to fluid. And by using the fluidic part of the same minimal invasive sample, we will ensure that all patients receive a diagnostic in the first visit, while substantially reducing the need to perform hysteroscopy. WOMEC is a highly scalable and cost-effective immunoassay solution based on the assessment of a panel of protein biomarkers in the uterine fluid. Our go-to-market strategy is a multiple licensing model to in vitro diagnostic manufacturers, and we're targeting a total market of €3 billion. We are really proud to say that the strong value of WOMEC has been recognized by more than 200 gynecologists around the world. And all of this is possible thanks to our committed and multidisciplinary team, a team that is in fact a family of 16 people with outstanding women leadership surrounded by top international advisors. And we're here today because national and European funded entities, as well as specialized investors, trust in our project too. We are now preparing for our next fundraising of €5 million that will allow us to complete clinical validation, start commercialization, and expand our portfolio. So join us in the revolution of gynecological diagnostics, because gynecological diseases are already complicated. Detection shouldn't be. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Christina Villarmao, a very welcome development for women's health. Thank you very much for that highly interesting pitch, and obviously well underway, supported by EIT Health. Number 5 on our list here is Alicia Stankiewicz, and she's the CEO and co-founder of a company called Coated. And it is a total pleasure to introduce her. She'll present the company Coated, which is offering a much-needed solution for the protective coatings industry and nano reduces corrosion, raw material usage, and energy savings, and is scaled for industry quantities. So please give her a warm round of applause. She's got a little demonstration. I'm going to hand you the microphone first. There is your clicker, and feel free to exploit the tables here to your heart's desire. Take it away.
People tend to forget that something we don't see at first is crucial for sustaining and protecting us, like atmosphere. Without it, you couldn't breathe. The same is with coatings. They protect surfaces and us. Coated is operating in coating industry, being a unique combination of nanotechnology and coatings. If you think how important coatings might be, they are like atmosphere, everywhere to protect surfaces against degradation. One of the methods of creating coating is electroplating, which uses different metal ions to create a metal coating. Electroplating market is big and it grows steadily. It requires a lot of raw materials, including the ones which are crucial for EU economy. And this can create soon a big problem, shortage of crucial metals like nickel. But this is not the only problem. And crucial metals are more and more expensive, and their mining is damaging the environment. We address these problems with our market-ready product, INNOVEIT. Just by adding it to a standard coating process without any changes or additional investment, just like that, you can save money and become greener. With INNOVEIT, you can have up to 25% savings on crucial or raw materials. How? Just by reducing thickness of a coating, keeping the same initial properties. We can calculate money value for it. For example, supply chain of a car producer which supplies the market with 6 million cars per year. Total savings, more than 40 million euros, just by reducing thickness of interior decorative nickel coating, patch which totals to just 2–3% of all coatings in the car. It leads to other savings too, because thinner coating is created by shorter coating process, so we are reducing CO2 emission too. Currently, we focus on bringing to the market our commercial products. Who is interested? Plating shops, chemical producers, component producers. They can gain access to better products, can generate savings, and reach ESG goals. We have been testing our products with more than 20 companies. We just closed first sales and are ready to boost. As a team, we are bringing together all the required know-how and experience. From invention to mature business, we can do it. So just coat it in a more sustainable way with us. I would love to speak with industrial partners having surface protection challenges. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Alicia. And finishing under the bell, very good. Wow, amazing. And thanks also for making that so visual. So cutting costs and meeting ESG goals, all with the support of EIT InnoEnergy. That was Alicia Stankiewicz. Next on our list is Elina Arponen, and she is CEO and co-founder of a company called QuickSave Interactive. Elina is a serial entrepreneur from the games industry who's now extending beyond gaming with their brand new product. She's presenting at Slush this year, and they promise to bring the soul back to the internet. So that's an interesting promise. She's going to tell us more about it. We'll see how she plans to do that. So please give a warm welcome to Elina.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. It's great to be here. This is a bold statement that we bring the soul back to the internet. And we are doing this with a new product that we are announcing tomorrow. So you are getting an exclusive preview today. But before I go into how exactly we do this, I tell how we actually got here. So we are 3 co-founders. We are serial entrepreneurs. Our previous company was acquired in 2015. Each of us has 20+ years of experience within the gaming industry, and we know the HTML5 and WebGL technologies very well. We have been working with them for the past 10 years. And I'm old enough to remember Flash. Is anyone else here like old enough to know what Flash is? Yeah, it's no longer available, but it used to be there. So it was a technology to build interactive, engaging content online. It had its problems, but when it got discontinued, it was always discontinued with the belief that HTML5 will come and take its place. So we don't actually need Flash. But it hasn't really happened, and there are reasons why. Building HTML5 or WebGL content is difficult. You need a big team, you need coders, it's a long process, it takes time, so it's also expensive. There are no easy tools available. You have some heavy game engines, and you have website builders, but they don't actually support the WebGL. They do HTML, they do CSS, and all the kind of more traditional web technologies. And the product we are now introducing tomorrow officially is called QSApp. It's a suite of 2 no-code editors. So an artist or designer can create a WebGL experience without coding, save that work, and it's automatically hosted. So the only thing you have to do is add 1 line of code to your existing website to use this more expressive, more engaging WebGL content. And these tools have been in development for the past 7 years. They've been battle tested by over 10 games and millions of players. So they are well tested tools. And here's an example. We have a React-based website, but this little dude in the middle is a QSApp. And it can open up this more expressive content. Now, this is a very simple example, but basically buttons, interactive banners, games, all kinds of things that can make your website stand out. And there's obviously a lot of different applicable areas for this within e-commerce, marketing, educational content, whoever wants to get more engaging things on their website. And we already have signed LOIs from customers who want this. So we are now starting to raise a new round. And if there's media or press present, we have an embargo on this until tomorrow, but you can ask for me for more detailed information, and we are releasing more information tomorrow about this. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Elina, and also getting that very crucial piece of information in before the bell. Congratulations, and good luck tomorrow with the pitch of that at Slush. Lots of exciting stuff going on. So I have been informed very happily that Charlotte Stigen-Lasberg, who didn't show up earlier, is here. Must have been waylaid. She is once again the founder of DigiClean Solutions AB, and she is the one who was looking to transform the business model for chemical suppliers. And we would like to give Charlotte the floor. Just getting in a minute. Okay, we're just going back to your presentation there, Charlotte. The decks are all on top of one another, so just bear with us. Elina Arpanen, by the way, was supported by the EIT Culture and Creativity, which is the newest, one of the newest of the kicks, in fact, the newest kick at the moment as things stand. So culture and creativity, also offering support for very, very interesting projects. And now Charlotte is here and ready to take it away with, as the founder of DigiClean.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, if I would say that I could remove 60% of all process fluids in factories worldwide, I'm guessing you're thinking, nah, she can't do that. And you're probably right, I can't do that. But together with my amazing team and a groundbreaking new sensor technology, we have actually proven that we can do just that. So I'm here today to present DigiClean solution and our mission to revolutionize how the industry are using their chemicals. Oh, sorry. Every year, billions of kilos of metalworking fluids are used, and I should know because I was one of the suppliers. I have been CEO of a family company selling technical chemicals for the industry for years, and I started to question the business model. And I realized that the real customer value is created when we focus on how we use the chemicals instead of selling as much as possible. So today I want to sell the real customer value and a sustainable cleaning result. And to be able to do this, I have my amazing team with domain knowledge within our field. And I want to invite you to our reality. This is a funnel washing machine where details dripping of lubricants and coolants are being cleaned with chemicals to be ready for the next production step. And I see our customers are struggling with their maintenance, leading to overconsumptions of chemicals and lowering the lifetime of the fluids. Today they are basing their decisions on experience. But years of research projects have led to a possibility to give our customers the ability to take database decisions instead. With our sensor technology, we can loop the fluid through our sensor, and together with machine learning algorithms, we can now help them to dose the exact amount needed. Even though I love talking about our solution, I think the most interesting part is the impact of our solution. So yesterday we sold chemicals per kilo, but now we are selling chemicals as a service. And together with some of the world's largest chemical suppliers, we are, with their help, we have sales channels over the world. And the market is huge. We're together with our partners, we are getting the technology over Sweden's border, but also to other applications. And our customers are eager to try our solution. We spun out the company in 2024 in May, and we already have paying customers. So I'm here today to fund for scaling as well as advancing the technology. Thank you.
Thanks very much to Charlotte Berg. I'm so glad we didn't miss out on that one. Thank you very, very much for presenting. And Charlotte is, of course, as I mentioned, supported by EIT Manufacturing. So thanks for another very welcome development that could really help improve the footprint of the chemical industry. Last but not least was supposed to be Martina Drobna. She's the CEO and co-founder of INNOVEIT, and I'm very sorry to announce that she has had to call in sick. So supported by EIT Food, Martina hopefully will be able to make it to the second Slush if she's not feeling so well today, and just wanted to have mentioned her name. So well done to all of our pitches here this afternoon. Let's have a round of applause for all of our founders. Many thanks for getting up here on stage and pitching. It is a big room, and you've all done super well. A chance for all of us, of course, to see the training and support provided by the EIT in action. So be sure to connect with these women, of course, if you want to figure out where to start or get some insight into how to begin at the heart of the EIT community. Well, next up, we're going to delve more deeply into how the EIT is empowering women in tech, and the supernovas you've possibly heard about, I think I mentioned them this morning, is one of the most exciting EIT initiatives supporting gender equality and women entrepreneurs specifically. It's a cross-kick initiative, so supported by all of the kicks, and I would very much like to invite Amparo de San Jose onto the stage. She's Regional Business Creation Portfolio Manager responsible for EIT Food's entrepreneurship programs for Southern European countries. A warm welcome to Amparo. Give her a round of applause. And Amparo is not alone in this venture here for the Supernovas today, because Blanca Chocaro Ruiz is Senior Manager for strategic projects at EIT Manufacturing. Here she is, great to see you again, Blanca, and she supports women in entrepreneurship and leadership. And let me give both of you the floor. Amparo is going to talk about the EIT Supernovas study, and Blanca will follow up with a presentation of the Supernovas new data room. So take it away, ladies, the floor is yours. And I'll just stand over here on the side and enjoy.
Thank you very much. So I'm gonna present to you a study that it's not that I move, no? Okay. We just completed a study on women in deep tech startups in Europe. This is brought to you by Supernovas. Supernovas is an initiative by EIT Community that is transversal to all the sectors and all the knowledge innovation communities. And we've been around for 3 years promoting or increasing gender balance in the entrepreneurship, investment, and innovation ecosystem. And we take care about getting deep into the roots of the problems that we have to achieve gender balance in the ecosystem. Last year, we completed a study on women scale-ups, and now we just completed a study on women in deep tech startups. So bear with me for the next 10 minutes for some figures, facts and figures. You don't need to pay much attention. I made a summary. This is the first time that I present the study, so you have to be patient, and all errors are mine. Okay, so here we go. First, I will stop a little bit into the methodology. We focus this study on women founders. You have seen a lot of studies on women based on the definition of whether a startup is led by a woman, is the number of C-levels. Sometimes C-levels is not relevant without undermining the work of anybody. There are certain C-level roles that doesn't have enough power to address or to shape the direction of a company. That's why we have been focusing on founders. It's not perfect, because as you know, in the room or in any other platform, you don't have data. We don't have data on the percentage of shares or ownership, and that will be really a key issue. But this is all we have to play with. There is a lack of data, strong data to perform studies. So what I want to tell you, another thing, is this is not a one-year study. We don't do this to see if this parameter grew a little bit or they went down a little bit over the past year. This is a study that covers a bit more than a decade of the market of women in deep tech startups. And here it goes, the first figure. We found out that 1,243 startups that are founded by women in the past 11 years in Europe. And that means that this is 17.4% of all the deep tech startups that are around Europe. So that's the figure you have to keep in mind. 17.4. Is that enough? Is a lot? Is little? I would say that is a bit lower than we would have expected. But there is a superb improvement over the decade, because we started the decade in 2011 with only 11% of the startups created that year being founded by women. And we ended 2022 with 24% of the startups created in Europe in 2022 were created by women, with at least a woman, with at least a woman, that's the right way to say it. And also, an important fact is if we look at the community and the entire deep tech entrepreneurship community, that is also moving much better than a decade ago. So of all the founders, you have to consider that some startups are 2, 3, 4 founders, etc. So if you look at all the founders that are involved in all the deep tech startups in Europe, we get to see that a bit more than 10 years ago, we had 7%, and in 2022, we managed to double. So there are 14% of women that are in deep tech startups as founders. I think that some of the colleagues presenting earlier in the morning, they said that we are social animals, women. We like to be with other women, we like to network, etc. And that is the reality. So the most popular form, structure of a deep tech startup is a solo venture. But women are funding less ventures by themselves. So solo ventures led or co-funded by women are only 10%. So maybe we are not brave enough to start solo, but maybe we are smarter and we know that solo startups are tougher. So that's why we don't do it solo. But still, even though we are a minority, even though we don't like to be solo, we are a minority. Because if you look at the figures, it means that in 87% of all these startups, you will find only one founder. And that includes the solo startup. So then you go and you grow a little bit. So you go for the larger startups. So there are only 11 startups that have 2 women as founders. And only 1% of the startups, of the 1,200 startups, only in 1% of the startups, you could see 3 founders. So this is a quiz. Tomorrow you go to Slush and look around for a startup with 3 founders in Slush. And if you find it, you bring it to EIT and maybe you get a sweet shirt that we have outside. A little bit more of the solo startups. And also they are younger, because you have been seeing that at the a decade ago, the proportion of startups, there were less women founded startups, and in the latest years that have been increasing. So that's one important thing, that the teams are younger. Then maybe from other points of view, from the policy point of view, it might mean something that larger teams are more complex to handle, younger teams, they have less experience, etc. One thing clear that we all know, that the Central Europe is a powerhouse of creating startups, whether they are women founded or male funded. So Central Europe, France, Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, they see the higher number of startups created as part of a total. But they are not really performing, Central Europe is not really performing well in terms of balance. So there are a lot of startups created there, but the proportion of women founded startups of the total of deep tech startups is Southern Europe. You wouldn't believe it, neither we, but this is it. But although it can be slightly misleading if you look at the regions, so that's a message for policy. This is, if you see here, this is just the figures for 2022. So that means if you exclude that maybe smaller countries, the numbers are a bit tricky because there are less startups, so 1 year can be So if you see the second best, this is not a region. So from the very south of Europe, from Spain, that we are performing very well in terms of balance, to Finland. So you see Finland, you see Poland, Slovakia, Romania, Estonia. These are the countries in Europe that, apart from Croatia and Slovenia, the countries where the percentage of women funded deep tech startups is larger. So let's move a little bit to what I mentioned before. Remember that we had 17.4 of the startups created by women, then we only have 11.4 of the funds that go to that those startups. If you see the difference, it means that women, we are receiving 50% less funding when we create a deep tech startup than men. That's super unpleasant, I would say. And there are more unpleasant news here, is that women in deep tech startups, the first round is smaller. The first round is smaller. The team, the less, the smaller that the size is. It's like, I'm looking for investment, now we are a bunch of women, the more women we are, the less we get money. There's something to look around that, I would say. That's also, here you will see something that is expected. So where the money goes, all the money goes to Central Europe because there are more startups, there are more VCs, no news here. So that's as a fact, in total numbers, this is where the money goes. But if you look at the percentage of money that goes in relation to the startups created, then again, it's Anglo-Saxon, it's the Europe Northern, but Central Europe is not funding the high number of startups founded by women as they should. And again, in this regard, there is a bit of discrimination in the South, because you remember that we had a lot of startups in proportion of women founded startups as a proportion of the total population of startups. Then we were the champions in the South, but then when it comes to the money, we are the worst. So there is, I would say that there is investors in the South, they have something with women founded startups. Let's gonna name the champion of the report. That's very good news, and we had our colleagues from the EIT here, but they're not here anymore. This is good news to everybody that is here involved giving away or investing money in startups from the public sector. Because the reality is that the public sector is the champion of women in deep tech, because they give the rounds faster. So they invest in a startup through a grant as well, a grant or investment. They invest or they give money to a women founded a startup earlier than the private market. So they are there the first, they take more risk. Also, they invest or they fund those teams that are younger. So they are earlier in the companies when there is again more risk. And they are also funding smaller teams when you have more difficulties, because also the VC market value the very large teams or larger teams. So this is why the champions, the public sector, the EIT, the EIC, the Commission, the IB, and the national programs are a champion there. Well, one thing is that, the public sector invests less money, the programs have less money, so that's the bad news, that these first rounds are smaller. Again, no news, the valuation of women deep tech startups is lower. It's not only that the value they appropriate, or they are given, or they are assigned a lower portion of the valuation, that is attributed to the entire population, but the first valuations are lower as well. So that's again making more difficult the earlier life of women deep tech startups. So there is definitely a gender bias in investments. The private market is especially penalizing women in deep tech. There is no reason, we didn't find any reason in the study to say, okay, women in deep tech are getting less money, are getting less valuation. Nothing is explained by the results. It's just what we always, the only explanation that I could give you is that there is gender investment bias. So here you have some recommendations. You can go, don't read them, you can go online. The main findings report is already public, and in 2 weeks we will be releasing the full report, and then in the full report you can find a lot more data. There is the UK included, Switzerland included, and there is more breakdown in regional and country level. So I encourage you to read this one, because it's an Isapilio, and then go to the other one. And an announcement for next year is that the next study that we will be releasing as Supernovas is the third study. It will be focused on gender investment bias. So you see, we are trying to crack the nuts and go deep and see how we can really redress for the future
for the future this issue. So I hope that for an afternoon presentation it was easy. I tried to make it clear, and then if we have more questions, I'll be around. Thank you.
Thanks very much to Amparo de San Jose, and Blanca Chocaro Ruiz is going to take over and tell us about the Supernova Data Room.
So good afternoon, and thank you, Karen, for the introductions. Well, we are almost at the end of INNOVEIT, but before the last session, I would like to introduce you to our Supernova Data Room. This is a platform that we have developed in collaboration with Dealroom and as part of the Supernovas initiative that Amparo just presented, where we have all the data, resources, and information of all the woman-led, woman-funded, or co-funded startups that have been supported by the different EITs throughout this year. So by EIT Energy, Climate, Health, and so on, for our different programs and investments. And because in EIT, we invest and support innovation, all those woman-led startups are providing innovative technological solutions. So the platform, it's very valuable for different stakeholders, but most especially for investors, because this curated content generates high-quality deal flow. A bit in numbers of what we have in this platform. Currently, we have over 800 startups, woman-led, from over 40 EU countries, well, European countries, that are giving 12,000 jobs. We can filter this information. So, for example, we know we have 300 startups from risk countries. Those are the modest and moderate countries. We can filter by technology. We have 250 startups from deep tech or by sector. So the information is also available of the investors. We have over 700 investors that have invested in these startups and the funding rounds. How the platform works? Well, there are different sections where you can deep dive on a specific information. And for example, if we have a look at one startup, like this one here, we can see the year it was funded, the number of employees, the valuation, but also different sections like the profile of key personnel, the patents, and also the financials, the funding rounds, and the investors, and some analytics like the number of employees that have been growing throughout the years. You have also other sections. So, for example, for startups, is an invaluable tool because there is also matchmaking with potential investors, or even for the startups to post opening job positions. But this platform is continually growing. Every year we are supporting more and more startups through the different EITs. So in 2024, the vast majority of the valuation comes from younger companies. This is because we support early stage startups and we invest in pre-seed and seed investments. And these startups are expected to raise over 330 million in 2024. But what sectors? As I said earlier, we are supporting them through the 9 different, they are supported through the 9 different verticals of the EITs. So this platform is sector agnostic. But if we look at a large share of those startups, looking at the investment they have raised from venture capital since 2019, we see that a big proportion goes to health, food, and energy. And this differs from the general trend in Europe, where the vast majority goes to fintech. Diving in a bit more on what type of technology and startups, we see that more than double of the, well, over 50% of the investment that these startups have raised are from deep tech startups. This is more than double of the woman-funded startups in the EU, and it's also higher for the case of AI and biotech. But where are these startups based? As I said, they are all across Europe, so from over 40 European countries, and a large share comes from Spain, Germany, and France. But when we look at all the venture capital that they have raised, France climbs to the top, followed by Germany and the United Kingdom. And this last slide, it's only to show you another nice functionality that we have in this platform. We can even filter those startups by the UN SDGs. So when we classify them based on those, we see that the a big proportion of the startups that have raised funding are supporting climate action followed by zero hunger. So in case you are interested to know more about our Supernovas initiative, and in particular about this data room I've been talking about, please scan the QR code. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to Blanca. Why don't you stay right over there, stay in the middle of the stage. Yeah, thanks. And I'll just follow up with a couple of questions before we get to our closing words. Very clear gains for women in deep tech startups, but obviously a lot of challenges that are still there. First of all, to you, Blanca, for this new data resource that's there. Why is it so relevant, and how can participants actually take advantage of or unlock the secrets of what it's going to help them achieve?
Yeah, well, it's relevant depending on the stakeholder. There's an opportunity for the startups to showcase their solutions, also for them to post job opportunities or the matchmaking tool that we have them to match them with investors. But I think most especially for investors, this curated content to generate quality deal flow. And I will say in three aspects. So first, we have only startups that are woman-led, woman-funded or co-funded. Second, all of them are providing innovative technologies. EIT is supporting innovation. And third, it's only startups that have been supported by the EIT's ecosystem. So there is this support that provides this, let's say, recognition of these startups, how well they are. For example, the ones that have pitched just before.
Just today.
Yes.
Okay, thanks very much. And Amparo, what can be done based on all of the data that you provided us there? What can be done at policy level to further improve the situation for women in deep tech in the long term?
I think that what the study shows is the public sector is already doing a lot of things in terms of funding, so they are doing their best. One important aspect to redress is how to start earlier so we can increase the number of women founding the startups. And so how can we bring more women to those teams as co-founders? So there is something that needs to be started earlier on. And also, in the midterm, I mean, in the short terms, we see the characteristics of the teams of women-led startups, and we see that there is a strong need for support to connect them with investors and to strengthen the funding teams and the managerial teams. That's three important things that the public sector could do.
Thank you very much for finishing off this conference this day with this very interesting data, and I know that you'll be around to answer any questions in the final networking hour, and it was great to see you both again.
Yeah.
EIT Supernovas,
Thank you.
Strengthening and empowering women in the deep tech startups and the deep tech industries. Well, this has definitely been an action-packed day, a content-filled day, and to officially close this INNOVEIT conference, I'd like to call on Magdalena Griszko-Santo. She's in charge of the EIT's Gender Equality and Leadership Agenda. She's been with the EIT for over 10 years now. She's had 10 years dealing with those kinds of topics and support before that, so she'll reflect on some of the highlights that she experienced in today's proceedings, and please put your hands together to welcome Magdalena Griszko-Santo. I can't even see her. Where is she? Where is Magdalena? There she is, technical issues. Okay, it's so dark back there, Magdalena, I couldn't see you. So once again, hands together for Magdalena Griszko-Santo, who's going to
Thank you so much,
deliver
Karin.
some closing words on behalf of the EIT.
Thank you so much, Karin. I've
Pleasure.
heard many times today, never underestimate the power of a network. And I say yes to this, and I think next year we had a meeting in a Finnish sauna, and it will be good. Let me start on behalf of the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, EIT, with a big thank you to our amazing speakers, to the great organizers team, Sophie for design and photos, Peggy, amazing illustrations, and Karin, thank you for the inspirational moderation. Last but not least, thank you to all of you,
to our participants. Your energy and your enthusiasm has made this day. And today I've talked to really some fascinating women and men. And the things we talk about was the strong business case, innovation case, and sustainability case for having more women in decision making. And the critical aspect about gender-conscious investment, and here I think a big bravo to Bertrand and his team from Borsky Fund, because what they are doing and having diverse team as prerequisite for funding is the role model, and this is the way to go. And Laura was talking today about having this room full of cowboys. I don't think we want to have a room full of cowboys, but I think we want some of these cowboys on board, because gender equality is not only about women. Gender equality benefits both men and women, and we need both men and women on board, which makes me think about all the women who have shared today information about their children and caring roles. And I very much would like to hear during the next conference men talking about their children and caring roles. I think that's where the change comes. Finally, and I am searching here for Monica, the crucial aspect, crucial success factors of not being an asshole. And all these aspects, maybe except the last one, makes me, I want to share with you a story of a 17-year-old woman I recently met. So at the EIT Alumni Connect event, I met 17-year-old Maria Metodieva from Bulgaria. She came to me, I thought we will be talking about high school exams, university choices, but she told me, listen, I have a startup idea. And I am here because I believe that the EIT has what it needs to help me to make it a reality. And it turned out that Maria is an alumni from our Girls Go Circular program. And Girls Go Circular powers women from 14, I see alumni here waving, powers women 14, 19, equips them with digital, entrepreneurial, and leadership skills. And today we have more than 40,000 alumni from this program. And Girls Go Circular is one. The bravo goes to the. And Girls Go Circular is one of the EIT Community Women Entrepreneurship and Leadership programs. You heard Blanca, you heard Amparo from Supernovas. There are many more running from like 5 weeks programs like EIT Health, Women Entrepreneurship Bootcamp to whole year programs. And I am looking here at Diana Berezhna, who is leading Red Kalina, amazing program powering women leaders and entrepreneurs from Ukraine. And please do connect to Diana. Diana, show yourself to everyone. But I think it's time to come back to the 17-year-old Maria Metodieva. So she told me that when she was starting Girls Go Circular, she was really not sure about herself, about what is possible, what is not possible. Once she graduated from the program, she gathered a team, she took part in NASA competition, and she won it. And I think that's exactly what the EIT community is about. We power this way from student to entrepreneur, from idea to product, from lab to market. And I know that we have some investors with us today and women founders, so let's talk money and let's talk women. Today, the ventures powered by the EIT community raise 9.5 billion investment. Every euro invested by the EIT brings 5.6 euro additional investments. It's one of the highest leverage effect across Horizon Europe. We brought to the market 2,500 products and services. And what I am talking about here are innovative, groundbreaking solutions for global challenges, from cancer treatment through water shortage to sustainable energy. And there are a few factors behind this success. And one of these factors is women. Because at the EIT community, we do prioritize having these gender glasses on when we innovate. Why? Because otherwise we can end up, for example, with face recognition systems that have 7 times higher error rate for women faces than for men faces, and especially for women of color. And we do prioritize having women with us, not only with us, but at the steering wheel. I mean, gender balance in decision making is our golden standard. And before I finish, let me invite you to still network with us during Slush. We will be here in 6C5 booth tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, and more opportunities to network, to get to know our business creation, innovation, entrepreneurial education programs, and to meet some of our most innovative startups, including AI Challenge winners. And finally, let me invite you to join the EIT community. And it's much more than just funding. It's strategic partnerships, it's thematic expertise, it's access to new clients and new markets across Europe and beyond. And finally, it's a community, which means that you will be surrounded by people who know where you are, what you are struggling with, and who will be there for you where you need it. Join us and let's make this gender-smart innovation happen. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Magdalena Griszko-Santo for those inspiring closing words. And now it is my turn, obviously, on behalf of the EIT community, to thank all of you, our participants. Go forward into these next 2 days of Slush, hopefully with new ideas, new inspiration, new connections. That is, of course, sort of the bread and butter of today. Graphic recorder Peggy Nobisrat over here on the side. Let's give her a hand once again for accompanying us with all these fantastic visual aids, and obviously our organizing team in the background has really done a great job and pulled this together with a fantastic lineup of speakers to inspire you. We hope you will leave here inspired and take the message of the EIT community out with you tomorrow and every day after that. All the best to you. Best of luck to those who are to that. All the best to you. Best of luck to those who are seeking funding. We know you're going to go places. And thank you for being here and making this event a success.
And thank you to Karin, of course, for the amazing.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much, Blanca. And do not forget to join us for our final networking hour, which of course starts maintenant.